learning the trade, learning the craft.
That's Madison with a T. Just to
Madison with a T.
Yep.
Madison, mad woman of all time.
Yep.
MD for the MT, by the way. Guys, by the way, Road Gang Radio is a Tuesday through Friday experience. It comes on the heels of Nemo Nation. This is the end of our first week on a new platform, on a new adventure. The way Road Gang Radio works is we break it up into two pieces. The first 2 hours are the living. That's how you make your living. The second 2 hours are the life. That's the life you decide to lead on the road. We mix and match and play some games with the programming on occasion, but at the end of the day, when Lindsay Lawler joins me at 9, we shift over from all the hard work you do to all the fun that you're going to want to have. Give us a call at 615-292-6366. I tell you what, Phone Master Dre, since Pack Rat is here, we're going to drop him in right now and say good morning to you on this freaky, feisty, flinty Friday.
Oh, Pack Rat.
Hi, buddy. Jimmy Mac. Dre.
What's going on? What's happening?
What's going on? Well, it's Friday. I was going to say it's our perfunctory football day of the week or whatever.
Well, it is a perfunctory football Friday, so if you want to drop a little bit of that in right now, would love to hear what you got cooking.
Okay, well, a couple things. First of all, the obvious elephant in the room is Rodgers' signs for the Steelers.
What do you think? Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? Do you think it's a thing? Do you think it's basically going to put a Band-Aid on a giant gaping wound of offense? Or do you think maybe he finds the last hurrah?
Oh, I don't even know where to go with this. First of all, I think it's got a lot to do with can Tomlin rein him in? And does Rodgers have something to prove now? Is he going to give it 110% now just to prove that everybody was wrong?
Well, and in many ways, a lot of people, forget we have another model of this that happened. Brett Favre went to New York and actually shasted the bed. He just, he made a complete mess of things. After starting off really strong, let his body fall apart. He let his discipline get away from him. He pulls himself back together, goes down to the farm, gets himself back in shape, goes to Minnesota, and almost gets them to a Super Bowl. Of course, the Saints defense had something to say about that with a little bounty gate. So there may be a model here. And the fact is he's got a defense. He's got a great defense, and that's a groovy thing.
I was going to say that. They do have a defense.
Yeah, and that's going to make a big old difference in terms of all of that kind of stuff. What's your weekend looking like since we are on this freaky, feisty, flinty Friday?
Well, tomorrow I go to the clinic and get my last rabies shot.
Oh, my God. Andre, you showed me a picture. That picture you showed me of Pack Rat getting shots. What was that? What the heck was that?
Hold on, let me turn on everything because that's fantastic. All right, so listen, Pack Rat. My lovely girlfriend, Chelsea Parsons, which I think she is hanging out with her lovely children as well, going on the way to bring them to daycare. Shout out to Quinn and Cece if y'all were listening. She did a, what's it called? Chat GBT style thing?
She did an AI thing where she has you actually, listen to this, they actually created a picture, and we're going to post it.
Yeah.
We're going to post this thing. We're going to send it to Tara and post it. She did a picture of a guy named Pack Rat sitting in a doctor's office with two nurses giving him shots.
With the raccoon in his arm, hanging out with the raccoon.
I mean, it's one of the best things I've ever seen in my life.
I'm looking forward to this.
We got to get that up there. So let's get that over to Tara immediately. Go ahead, Pack Rat.
Well, let's just say if I ever get my hands on that raccoon, he is going to die a slow and painful death.
Well, at least he's going to get shots. Shot. For those of you guys who are just catching up with the situation, Pack Rat got bit by a raccoon. In order to prevent rabies from actually going into symptom form, he had to get a whole battery of shots. Brutal, dude. Brutal. And he got one in both cheeks.
Yeah. How many men could actually say that, right?
Oh, I got to tell you, a couple of nurses grabbed both cheeks and stuck it to him. I'm just going to leave it at that. I got a lot of phone calls. I got my first guest coming up here in just a minute, Pack Rat, but I wanted to get you in on the air. I think that Favre is going to be not Favre. I think that Rodgers, it's all the same guy.
Yeah.
Just the same guy.
Yeah.
Just another flaky Von Flakestein throwing a football around a gridiron. I think it's going to be an adventure regardless of what happens. I think it is, if he stays healthy, it is must-see TV. That's my take.
It's good for football.
It's good for us all, man. Pack Rat, all the best.
All the best, Jimmy Mac and Dre.
Thank you.
Hey
Bye.
guys, we're gonna get our good buddy Chrome Badger in on the conversation. Say good morning. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Hey,
Hey.
Ray and Madison there. Good to hear you guys this morning. I'm glad you're up and running, and things are really looking good and sounding good, man. It's good to hear all your voices again.
Well, we got a little more Dre on the day, which also makes me really happy. You know, Dre and I have been working together for the better part of the decade, and with the exception of a couple of times to go up there to learn the craft, or one or two occasions to be like, you need some company?
Yeah.
I'm coming up. Having Dre sit across from me, and we're still working out some stuff in regards to, you know, sound spillage and all that stuff, but having the man with the plan sitting across from me is like just the most dynamite thing in the world. It makes me so happy. And Rebecca Brewster of Atri actually wrote on the chat, she basically said, hearing Dre's voice is like the revelation, isn't it? It's so nice to get him on the air, right?
Yeah, it is. And I tell you what, he's skilled at what he does, because if I had to do that, I don't know, I'm challenged with electronic things sometimes. I'd rather do a maintenance on my vehicle or wash and wax or something than do all these little electronic things. I think I lose my You know what's funny? We're in a different generation, kind of. You know, I'm 47. So when I grew up, I didn't have computers. But with, you know, younger people now, computers have been around for a while already. So they grew up with it, so it's like second nature. So me, I kind of get frustrated with computers or this, and I just give up with them.
Oh, don't worry. Madison just tried to throw her computer out the window, dude. The
Yeah.
frustration never ends. I'm going to let you know that right now. Yeah, you and I fall into that same rubric. I'm a little bit older than you. Well, actually, I'm being too generous to myself. I'm a lot older than you. But that being said, I know of what you speak. You and I are that last generation on that transition point. Dre's got something to say.
Oh, man, I forgot where my thought was. Oh, yeah, so listen, I'm going to be honest with you.
Squirrel.
Yeah, because I was thinking about her
Raccoon.
throwing that laptop because of State Farm not being her friend at the moment. But, dude, I'm at that fine line, too, where technology still gets on my lasting nerve. But I'll be honest with you, I'm that weird little millennial fine line where I had a Nokia brick, and then and it's just like, that was my first phone. And then high school was right when they had like the smartphones and the iPad. So it's just like I kind of have an understanding, but wasn't around it enough. But I also remember whenever you had your phones in the car and you had a string attached to it. So one of those things.
You're still a boy of BlackBerry.
Yeah, you get it. Yeah, I want a BlackBerry so bad.
I used to
dude.
have one, dude. Those things were terrible, man. Go ahead, Pack Rat. I'm Pack Rat. Chrome Badger.
Hey, real quick, you know what that reminds me of? Throwing out the window. Remember that movie from a long time ago, Office Space? Remember Office
My
Space? I
stapler.
think they should do a remake with today's technology now.
Let me tell you something. At the end, we were working over at the studio to get everything over here, and there was one piece of equipment, we won't talk about what it was, where everybody kind of got together and said, when this is all over with, we're taking that thing out into a field, and we're killing it. And it became this large kind of hunt for the song itself.
Brothers and sisters!
Yeah, brothers and sisters. By the way, I don't know if you know this. We got to get your email from you because you are a prime candidate for the Resistance. You don't know about the Resistance, do you?
No, fill me in. I'm all game. Let's do it.
What I want you to do,
Sounds good.
I want you to email me at weekends@radionemo.com and just put Resistance in the subject heading and say, I want to join. Got a couple of people yesterday wanted to join. We have a biscuits and gravy challenge, which, by the way, won't get you hung up on this show. We love Tim, by the way. We love Mr. Ridley. We have a biscuits and gravy challenge, Chrome Badger. Somebody actually was the first person, because of the biscuits and gravy challenge, to actually is going to get Fred Flintstone, regular caller Fred Flintstone, is going to get biscuits and gravy because he did something. And I'm going to share that with all the members of the Resistance on Monday, what he did. It's great. It's great. Dude.
Diabolical.
It's awesome. What are you doing with your day, man? What are you doing forgetting about it?
Right now, I'm up here in Connecticut. I'm going to be sleeping up here after I get offloaded. I'm going to make a meal now and just chill out a bit. And then when I get home in wee hours of Saturday morning, I'm going to do usual chores, man. Just food shopping, try to relax. I may be back in work Sunday or I may be off. It's kind of a wild card. You know, it's my usual. But I was off for 3 days not too long ago, which was odd. And I could tell people get days off whether you want them or not eventually. But I just take it easy and run with the rhythm. You know how I do things.
Really quickly, before Dre's got one more thing to add before we got to shuffle off your radio coil. Speaking of having weekends off, I'm so not used to having weekends off. My brother called me yesterday because he knows I have weekends off now. And he said to me, he goes, hey, man, you want to come be the first base coach for your nephew's Little League baseball team? And I said, dude, I can't. That game's at 10 o'clock in the morning. He goes, oh, no, man, you can do it. And I can do it. I am going to be the first base coach of the Little League baseball team my nephew is in. How about that?
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool, man. It really frees up a lot. You don't realize till you're actually off on the weekends all the time how much more things you could do. Like my mom sometimes yells at me. He's like, "You have no life. What are you working so much?" So I got to cut back on the work. I enjoy it, but yeah, it's true. It's
Yeah.
good to take time off.
You can always just email us or talk to us on the Book of Face. You don't need to be always on the road. You ain't got to be doing that. Dre's got one more thing before we shuffle you out of here. What you got, Dre?
Look, man, you're too busy waxing that truck. You need a hobby. Listen, we might holler at you and get you to do a few spots because, man, I'll be honest with you, that voice, whenever you want to try,
Forget about
it. It's smooth. But listen, we got to get the K-Bar, Chrome.
Okay, love you guys. Have a great weekend, man. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you,
Later.
sir. Brothers and sisters, he's back in the game, larger than life and twice as spectacular. Say it, Dre.
K-Bar in the house!
K-Bar's here. What's going on, man?
Uh-oh.
Oh, did we lose him?
Uh-oh.
Made a big announcement. We lose him?
Oh, no, he's there. I see him. But
Am I on?
Oh, there he is. Come on, turn your phone on.
Good
K-Bar.
morning, trucking world. It's the one, the only, the infamous K-Bar.
K-Bar lives. K-Bar endures. K-Bar prevails. What's going on, man? How you been?
I've been good. I've been good. In fact, well, it's kind of why I called in and stuff, so I just let everybody know I'm still out here breathing and pushing the wheels.
Too busy stealing kids from, not kids, but stealing candy from kids.
Oh, my God.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, take it easy. It ain't
Take
that kind
it
of party. I
easy.
got to tell you, the war's over. We'll get new parts for your head. What's happening, K-Bar?
Sorry, Kev.
Yeah, well, the reason I called in is because life is funny. In 3 weeks, I will get ready to flip the page on 6 decades.
Wow.
And I decided that it was time I slowed down, had a little more off time, a little less work time.
Congrats
So
to you.
I told my boss that when I do that, when I flip that page on 6 decades, I'm only working part-time. Well, I'm going to cut back semi-retired. I'm not doing more than 30 hours a week, period, end of story, which he was cool with. And then it just happened to be circumstances. The very next day, that afternoon, which is a whole different story I could tell later and stuff, but we had a driver get fired because of his own stupidity. Bottom line, he didn't take care of his health, lost his medical card, out the door. Which opened up a position that was perfect for what I wanted to do. It's a dedicated position running from our warehouse to a customer warehouse. You work 2 days of 7, 3 days of 5. The rest of the time is yours. And the boss called me the next morning. I heard about it. I was getting ready to call him when he called me. And he said, "We just had this position come open." I said, "Yeah, I know about it. Can I have it?" He said, "Yeah, that's why I called. You want it?" I said, "Yep, that is perfect. That's exactly what I want to do." I said, "I could do that for the next 2 years. And then when I hit 62, I'm done. At 62, I will have been working for 50 years. 40 of those pushing a truck. I am done. Finished. Adios." So for the next 2 years, I'll be semi-retired because I'm only going to work 30 hours a week. And then I'm done. I'm hanging up the keys, and the rest of the world can work while I sit back and enjoy the rest of my life.
K-Bar, I like the fact of two things here. One, it is so well deserved. You really have earned this. And the second thing is I like the fact that you actually can see it unfold. That's what's so groovy. That it's not just a matter of what you want to do, but you know how you're going to get there. And that's fantastic. Which means you can focus on doing the job to the best of your ability, knowing that there is an end and there is a new beginning after that. We kind of relate to that over here, by the way, as you probably well know. Lots of crazy things going on here over in the city of New Orleans, which is where we're broadcasting from this morning.
Crazy!
Trey and I are in the same room. How about that?
Yeah, I gathered that and stuff. I heard it because apparently you're not on at 6 o'clock in the morning anymore.
Who told you that?
I called in and found out that you're your engineer and stuff, because I called at 6 and he said, "Yeah, we're not on. We don't come on until 7 now." Oops.
That's quite all right, man. We are here at 5 o'clock in the morning and ready to roll on a new platform. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on RadioNemo.com. You can find us on Facebook. And then as we kind of spill on over, we are going to be on, we're on iHeartRadio. Nemo is everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah, I gathered that and stuff. And real quick, because I did mention it and stuff, the guy who lost this job and stuff, for all you 40 and over, particularly you guys 50 and over and stuff. When I say guys, it's a general term. I mean you ladies too. You have to take care of your health. Truck driving is difficult to do, but you have to do it, because if you don't and you lose that medical card, your career is done. And the worst thing you can do is find a doctor who'll help you fudge things, which is what he did. His blood pressure was out of sight. He lost his medical card, and that was the end of it.
K-Bar, I got to do my break. I got to get all this good, groovy stuff in here. But, man, it is so good to hear your voice. Congratulations on your new gig. Congratulations on your long-term retirement plan. We love you. Please keep calling, brother. Please.
I will. I'll check in every once in a while. And as always, everybody, keep it safe.
Thank you, K-Bar.
Hey, guys, we're going to take a quick break here to make sure we get the pledge, anthem, and, of course, a good word from the good pastor. We got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to start the whole thing off, actually, in just a moment here. Crazy as it seems, we are rack-packed and stacked. Gregory Randolph is the last-minute addition. Dads want more time off from work to spend with their kids, whether it's a school performance, a birthday, or just being present when it counts. Too many dads are forced to choose between time with family and bringing home a paycheck. Well, guess what? Gregory Randolph's got the DTO initiative, and we'll be talking about that after, of course, we take a moment of reflection. Hey, by the way, guys, they've been connecting truckers companies with nationally respected service providers since '97. Towing, tires, on-site repairs, and a list of other maintenance needs are an app away. Go to truckdown.com. Truckdown.com, and now here's your break.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous night o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rattling, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
It's Friday, 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 Friday. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, I want you to think about something, and most of you probably already are processing it. But do you realize that this Sunday is Father's Day? So I want to give you something to start working on. And if you haven't bought your father a gift, then go ahead and take care of it, because today is Friday. And another thing, a lot of us, our fathers, have transitioned to be with the Lord. And this is a weekend that you'll sit back and reflect and remember the things that God has blessed you with through him as a father. But I also want to say something else. God has said in his word, he'll be the father to the fatherless, which means that you and I still can celebrate Father's Day by thanking God for being there and being in our lives. But what I want to share with you today is found in Genesis 19, verse 19. And it says, behold, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have shown me great kindness. And watch this, saving my life. God is saying to you, and he's saying to me, he's letting us know that we all are walking in his favor. And he wants us to understand that he saved our lives for a divine purpose. So if you don't know why you're here, if you don't understand why you're here, today is a good day for you to start asking him to show you why. God bless you, brothers and sisters. Enjoy your Friday. But hey, don't forget, Sunday it's Father's Day.
Amen.
Amen. By the way, our good friend Scat Pack is listening. James is listening. K-Bar is in the house as he was before. We got a whole bunch of folks over on the tube of you making the miracle happen over there. You guys can also listen to us on radionemo.com. Just push that play button and make sure you subscribe to our newsletter as well. The resistance continues. For those who know, hashtag RGR, the resistance actually got its first win yesterday. We'll be revealing that on Monday in our resistance newsletter. That's right, somebody won the Biscuits and Gravy Challenge. If you know, you know. By the way, you also know that Father's Day is looming up upon us, and we are very excited about it. As you guys know, my dad had a big health rally in the last couple of years. We were worried about him for a couple of years. He lost 60 pounds, and he is on the road to actually maybe making it to the big 100. By the way, speaking of dads, we are so thrilled this morning. And I got to tell you, I am, as Teddy Roosevelt would say, delighted to have Gregory Randolph of the DTO Initiative. And I've kind of buried the lead there on DTO. It's an acronym. Gregory, good morning, and tell them what it stands for.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on this morning. DTO, that is Dad Time Off. It is the equivalent of paid time off, but in recognition of Father's Day, we're taking a chance to honor and recognize all those dads out there and giving people a chance to get their dad a paid day off from work on the decked tab.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this right now, man. Everybody goes to that website. You totally get it. I mean, it immediately captures the essence of what we're talking about here. Where can we find you? Tell people where the website. I want you to do all the revelation here because, man, you're so responsible for all this groovy stuff. Tell people where they can go and what they're going to find there.
Absolutely. So Decked is, we make products for pickup trucks and work vans for working blue-collar folks out there. It makes it easier and more efficient and safer to work out of and around pickup trucks and work vans. And you can learn all about it on our website. That's Decked, DECKED.com. And if you want to go and learn about the Dad Time Off opportunity, it's decked.com/DTO, like Dad Time Off. And when you go on there, there's a really cool video that'll show you everything about the campaign. And really, this is about us, you know, just like your audience, a hardworking class of men and women that do some of the most important work in this country. We want to recognize people that, you know, put in the extra hours and work overtime and give them an opportunity to take a little time off to spend time with their family, connect, and be present.
You know, for the first time in years, I'm actually going to have Saturdays and Sundays off. And it is an extraordinary thing because my brother called me and he said, hey, do you want to come to the Little League game and be the first base coach? And that's kind of an extraordinary thing that happens for people when they finally get the time off that they've been missing. And look, that's just for my nephew. I can't even imagine for a dad who has somehow missed some of the most important moments of their kids' lives to open up this possibility. And once again, like everything in trucking, everything in labor, so much of this is based on data, right? I mean, you guys did a survey and you discovered something, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we had a pretty good idea going into that. I don't think it's a big surprise, but the survey, you know, really revealed the truth is that, you know, 65% of dads say they've missed an important life event because they couldn't take time off of work. You know, over 40% of dads said that they had, you know, their financial pressure if they were to take time off from work to spend time with their kids or their families. And that really showed to us a gap in how we're taking care of ourselves as a society and as a culture. It's really important that people have strong families and everybody's present. So, yes, this is a campaign for Father's Day. We're not trying to sell things on Father's Day. I think that's not what it's all about. It's about doing something good for the fathers out there, and this is our way of giving back to our community that's helped us get to where we are today. And as a result of that survey, we were inspired to come up with a way to get people talking about paid time off for dads. And our hope out of this entire thing is actually that employers kind of understand that when their workers are taking care of their family and they're in a good place, everyone's connected and taken care of and looked after, that they're actually better workers and employees out there as a result. So we just want to encourage other employers to give their families a little bit of space and time when it's needed so they can be strong units for our society and culture.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we like to say this here on this show. What is the point of making a living if it doesn't give you the opportunity to have a life? And that is so crucial and so important. And it's just about making space and realizing that you come back and you have if we're going to be cynical about it, and we're not, but the idea that you're simply, if all you care about is the bottom line, you're still creating more productive employees. I mean, other than, doing the right thing, which is the most important thing here, but you're actually improving the atmosphere of your workforce by doing this, right?
I think that's right. The United States is an amazing country. We are who we are today because of hard work, and that is not us saying, hey, let's not work hard. We need to work hard with 200 years plus history of that. But at the same time, giving a little can get you a lot. And it's really important to us that we don't just, live to work, but we work to live. And I think that balance of life and, quality of life is really important. And that's what we're trying to draw attention to here.
We've only got a minute or so left here. Can you, is there any kind of personal story that you can share about this program, about your own kind of impact that working on this has had on you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm guilty as every dad out there of having too much work and not enough time off and missing some critical life events, and watching my kids grow up and trying to be present sometimes and balance work is really tough. And that's why we started this campaign. And I think it's worth noting that if you go on there, the way it works is you'll enter your information so we know how to contact the winners. And then we ask you to give a little bit of an anecdote. Give us some stories. Tell us why the dad in your life. And it could be yourself as well. We want to encourage dad. This is for dad. So if no one else is going to nominate you, there's no shame in going on there and saying, hey, this is what I do. This is how it's costing me time with my family. I'd love a day off of work. And DECT is more than happy to consider all those applications. And I'll tell you right now, the anecdotes that we've gotten, the stories we've gotten will bring a tear to your eye. It's really moving, the amount of love and compassion that people have out there for their dads. And so super cool. And I just encourage people to go check out DECT.com/DTO, or if you just go to DECT.com, you'll find the link on our homepage there. It'll take you right to the nomination form.
Gregory Randolph, we can't thank you enough for joining us this morning. I wish we actually had more time to dig into this, but we tend to be pretty rapid fire. He's the vice president of DECT, and he joins us this morning, and we're so thrilled to have you. Happiest of Father's Day to you and everybody that you care about as well, and go enjoy your time with your kids, okay?
Thank you, sir, and a big happy Father's Day to all those truckers out there. Thanks, y'all, for having me on.
RGR, of course, stands for Road Gang Radio. We got a great lineup today. I told you we're rack-packed and stacked. Celebrated journalist John Seabrook has a terrific book about, his his grandfather, the Spinach King. He's a New Yorker staff writer and author of The Spinach King. He's author of a couple of great books about marketing as well. Really terrific work. We're going to talk about it on the other side of this. It's the Dave Nemo Nothings. It is Road Gang Radio. It is RadioNemo.com. Man, we're figuring this all out, dude. Freaky, feisty, flinty Friday from the city of New Orleans. New Orleans. You know what it means.
I'm a long-haul trucker. I don't have time for nonsense. So when I fuel up, I need to get in and get going with a fuel card that takes me there. Founded in 1978 by a trucker for truckers, Multi-Service Fuel Card is run by real, honest people who are there to help us road warriors keep our freight moving. And with nationwide acceptance, fuel discounts, and dedicated customer service, no matter where I'm going with Multi-Service Fuel Card, I never roll alone. Learn more at neverrollalone.com.
Prepare for over-the-top flavor with a limited-time lineup of ginormous sandwiches. Try the Chicken Parm Stack, breaded chicken fillets on garlic bread with red sauce and mozzarella. Or the Big Country Combo, country fried steaks with mashed potatoes, gravy, and fried eggs on Texas toast. Craving a burger or grilled cheese? Well, the Ultimate Smash Melt delivers both with smashed patties, cheese, and bacon between grilled cheese buns.
Available for dine-in only at participating Country Pride and Orange Skillet restaurants inside TA or Petro Travel Centers.
Well, if you hear that music, then we're back live at the Fastport Studios with Jimmy Mack and myself, Phone Master Dre. And before we go to our next segment, I gotta give a little shout out, Jimmy, to some lovely ladies in my life, not knife. TC and Quinn and my beautiful girlfriend Chelsea Parsons. I think they are on the way to daycare, dropping off the girls. So I hope y'all have a great day. And back to you, Jimmy.
By the way, all three ladies, please have the best of days. We hope you have a wonderful time together. Quality family time, as we were just talking about with Gregory, is so important to people. Fastport's important to us as well. As Dre said, it's the Fastport Studios. All the equipment and the quality of the sound in regards to the microphones and all the other newfangled technologies we have over here at the Degas House are due to them. They're solving America's toughest recruiting and workforce challenges through research, technology, and people. From registered apprenticeships to veteran readiness, you can learn more at fastport.com or nationalapprenticeship.org. By the way, I am so thrilled to have John Seabrook on the show this morning. He's been a staff writer at The New Yorker for more than 3 decades, and The Spinach King, which is what we're talking about, the rise and fall of an American dynasty, is his 5th book. He currently resides in Brooklyn, New York. By the way, what I've got here for you guys is a Horatio Alger story about a principled dreamer, main promoter, political fixer, master builder, and autocratic ruler of the world's largest vegetable factory. And he did it by double-crossing his own father, getting it all for a song, building a Seabrook Buddhist temple, all the while using his wealth to study and emulate the British aristocracy and Southern gentry. What he was doing was creating a baronial plantation. What he should have studied was the fall of the House of Usher, of one of Faulkner's Yucca-Wapana County stories, because he would have known that that kind of behavior only leads to destruction. This is a terrific book. John, good morning. Welcome.
Joe, great to be here. Thank you.
This in many ways is a remarkable story for a number of reasons, because this is one of those great moments of where there is a public persona and a public image, and there is the reality behind the truth. It's often told by those who are often not connected to the people they tell it about. You have a direct connection to all of this, and you're the one that has to step up as the next generation to kind of set the record straight and tell some really hard truths. Talk to me about the journey to get to writing this book, and then we'll talk about the book.
Yeah, so thanks. Yeah, so my grandfather was named C.F. Seabrook, and he was known as the Henry Ford of agriculture. And the reason he was known that is because he was inspired by Henry Ford to build a vegetable factory in the fields of southern New Jersey. And eventually that turned into a frozen vegetable factory when he met Clarence Birdseye, and Clarence Birdseye had invented that process of quick freezing after he saw these Eskimos pulling fish from the water above the Arctic Circle and how they would freeze in midair. And then months later would be warmed up and taste just as fresh as when they were caught. And he thought, oh, well, if I can do that in the laboratory and patent it, I'll have a great business. And so he did that for fish and for poultry, but he couldn't figure out vegetables. And my grandfather, who had this big vegetable plantation in New Jersey, said, oh, well, I'll take a crack at that. And he did. He figured out how to. It turned out he had to cook them a little bit first before you froze them, and so he created Seabrook Farms Frozen Vegetables. And even though it was a mechanized operation, it was still a gigantic agricultural operation. And so, yeah, they had all these machines and technology, but they also needed thousands and thousands of workers at a time when fewer and fewer Americans wanted to do farm work. So basically, you have labor coming in from all these different places. And during the Second World War, Japanese Americans who were interned in camps came to Seabrook to work. After the war, a lot of Estonians who were in displaced persons camps in Europe came to Seabrook to work. And these workers all sort of venerated my grandfather as their savior, and even built a museum, which is still there, to kind of celebrate him. But meanwhile, as he was treating his workers well, or some of his workers well, he was treating his family horribly, mainly because his workers were totally loyal to him and would do whatever he wanted. But, you know, his sons, he had 3 sons, one of them was my father, they had different views of how to run the business. As time went on, you know, products like frozen orange juice became a new thing in the 50s. My father wanted to move into that, but his father thought that was not, you know, they should stick to their knitting. Also, the brand, the Seabrook Farms brand, meant that you could produce vegetables in other places, whereas my grandfather was always the ruler of this one place. And not only did he own the company, but he owned all the housing that the workers lived in. So they not only worked for him, but they were his tenants and paid him rent. So it was a complete control of everything in this town in southern New Jersey, except for his family. And that's where really a lot of the problems arose.
Yeah, and the other thing, like I said, there are dimensions of Lear in this, particularly with the fact that there are three siblings, at least three siblings who are allowed to play because there's a daughter as well.
Right.
And also I kept thinking about his studying of what goes on in the Deep South on the plantations, and his studying of what was going on with the British aristocracy, and going over there across the seas to kind of give advice to them, not realizing the entire time he is setting himself up for the same sort of end that they all reach. I mean, the idea of the literal and metaphorical cratering of the entire world that he has built, because he can't let go of it. So that even though he's willing to hand the youngest son, like Cordelia, the keys to the kingdom, he never stops criticizing him at the same time. And it's a real kind of, it becomes almost a cautionary story, except for the fact that it isn't just about that. It's about the dynamics of family and power as well. And I was kind of curious, as you wrote this, how is your ability as a journalist to be able to detach yourself from the fact that you're telling your story?
Yeah, that was the biggest challenge, actually, of writing the book, because it's a reported memoir, and most of the action takes place before I was born. I did that through family records and research, but of course I had my own experience. My grandfather died when I was 5. I only met him once, and it was he was very sunk into dementia, I believe, at that point. And it was a sort of a scary encounter. So I never knew him. As a younger man, I believe that he was somewhat different. One of the things that happened was my father was 40 years younger than his father, and he was educated at an Ivy League university, whereas my grandfather was never even attended high school. And as the company expanded and borrowed money from bankers who were also sort of Ivy League types got to sit on the board. And I think what went down was kind of a class conflict between my grandfather and my father. And my grandfather came to believe that my father was more sympathetic to the bankers on the board who wanted, the business to be run a certain way, in a more rational way than to him. And so eventually the bankers said to my father and his brothers, if you don't have this man removed and committed, the only way you're going to do this is to actually commit him, then we're going to call the loans and bankrupt the business. So then my father was faced with this choice of, whether to sort of basically betray his father and literally have him committed, or to risk losing the business. He chose the former. They tried to have my grandfather committed. They did succeed for a while, but eventually he got out, and then he sold the business in 1959, and he disowned them all. It ended in this horrible conflict, but my father never really talked about it. And if you ever asked him, he would speak respectfully of his father. And it wasn't until he died and left me this box of documents about my grandfather's behavior, particularly in the last 10 years, and the abuse that he had heaped on my father, that I realized the true situation that my father had faced. And that was really my inspiration for writing this book. And partly it was kind of revenge. I realized what my father had dealt with, and what a hero he was to survive it, and also the damage that it must have done to him. And it explained some things about his personality. And so I thought that the truth should be told. And I also thought that my children, I have 2 children, should know the true family history and not the sort of alternative family history. And that the workers' children the workers' children should know that too, because it's not just my family. You know, as I said, there's this museum, and all those Japanese American families and Estonian families, kind of their life story is all entwined with my grandfather's, the sort of heroic version of my grandfather's story. And so writing the true story meant sort of tearing down a narrative that had actually given hope to a lot of those folks when they came to America or they came to New Jersey at the worst moment of their lives, and kind of found a new beginning and a little bit of hope in Seabrook Farm. So you know, it was a tough decision, and we're going to see how it all settles out. I'm going to go down there next month and present the book to that community, and I'm not sure how the reaction will be.
Well, you know, and the other thing about it is the fact that, you know, one of the things you wrestle with in the book, because in many ways this is a love letter to you. It's ironic that we're talking on this Friday the 13th, right before Father's Day. It's a love letter to your dad because, I mean, he really comes across as the good guy in all of this and morally conflicted because it's obvious he loves his father too. Your mom in the early part of the book is terrific in kind of helping you navigate your own father and help him get more comfortable. There's a lot of real warmth and deep concern for the people who actually raised you, and it's a great reminder in a Shakespearean way that, you know, you don't need to follow in the dark shadow of those from whom you come from. In many ways, there's a real story of hope in here, despite the kind of despair that often resides at the middle of this story as well. I also want to make it really clear to everybody listening, John, though, this is important. There's a lot of great fun stuff in this book, a lot of fascinating stuff about how businesses are built, about how, you know, the genius of being an industrialist plays through all of this stuff, and some really colorful stories as well. So I don't want people thinking it's this slog. It's not at all. It's a real page turner. And that must have been the hardest part, too, the idea of balancing the emotional truth with kind of the fascinating surface stories that kind of play out. I mean, like literally the fact that we have green acres in many ways because of what happened on Seabrook Farm. I mean, that's true, right?
Yeah, there's a little subplot in the story, but it's kind of, you know, it connects to what a lot of people know. Yeah, the show Green Acres, which starred Ava Gabor and was, you know, about a sophisticated New York woman who goes and lives on a farm. Actually, Ava Gabor she was my father's girlfriend before he met my mother in the early 50s, and she would come down to the farm, you know, in her furs and all her finery, and 10 years later, she played that role on television and was very good at it. And I think one reason she was so good was she lived it. Basically. Another thing I'll say about the book, just for your audience, is what I learned was how instrumental farmers were in building roads. My grandfather was not just a farmer, he was a road contractor. And you think, well, that's sort of two opposite ends of the spectrum of human activity. You know, the farmer cultivates the land and grows things from it, and the road builder pours concrete and asphalt over it, and nothing grows there for a long time. But in fact, in the early days of the 20th century, the Bureau of Public Roads was part of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and it was farmers who really needed the roads first because they needed to get their goods to market, and when it rained, they get stuck in the mud. And also because the workers had nothing to do during the winter months, turning the crew to a road crew allowed my grandfather to keep the workers around all year. So he became a major road builder, and he became he became a highway commissioner of New Jersey in the 1920s. And he was corrupt from the beginning, and he had no problem. He built a 4-lane concrete highway with public funds from Camden to Seabrook, New Jersey, so that he could get his produce to Philadelphia. 4-lane concrete, a beautiful road. It's still there, Route 77. And then later, incredibly, during the 1920s, Joseph Stalin thought my grandfather was such a great road builder that he brought him over to Moscow, and as part of Russia's 5-year program to modernize, had him building thousands of miles of roads around Moscow. until it turned out that he didn't know how to build roads for Russian weather, and the roads crumbled and fell apart within a year, and then he was out there pretty quickly. But yeah, so there's a whole interesting kind of, road building sideline that my grandfather maintained, which was characteristic of a lot of farmers at that time.
John, I'm going to tell you right now, I literally I'm going through questions and getting to scratch them off the list too, because as I read the book, when Claire and I reached out to you guys to get you on the show, and I was kind of penciling through it, I know you know this, but of course, farming is one of the great quote unquote farm systems for trucking. It literally is. I mean, that I know we have so many truck drivers that call this show whose truck is actually on their farm. I mean, the number of men and women who actually have a double living as both farmers who own family farms, factory farms, but also have a fleet of trucks to make that happen. And you can make a case that the entire history of trucking in this country is based on the ability to deliver quickly and with efficiency goods and services, in particular food, across the country. And so these people were infinite. I mean, he literally is as important into the trucking and transportation industry as he is into frozen foods.
And what's really fascinating, or just as an add-on to that, the word truck actually originally meant produce. When what my great-grandfather did was truck farming. That's what they called growing vegetables. And it's the more archaic use of the word truck as exchange or barter. I have no truck with you. So before there were such things as we now know as trucks, truck meant produce. My grandfather's business from the very beginning was based on having trucks to move the truck around, and the Seabrook fleet of trucks was a big it was a big part of the whole business, and then having to originally they had to pay organized crime to let the trucks come through the Holland Tunnel after that opened in the 1920s. And then later on they unionized, and I guess they made it legal or semi-legal, but for sure. And then of course, like once you invented frozen food, that wasn't like the end. That was just the beginning, because then you needed refrigerated trucks, refrigerated trains. You needed freezer, counters in supermarkets, and then you needed freezers at home, and that all took about 20 years to come together, and and a number of other innovations. So a lot flowed from this idea of frozen food and then transportation across the country, and the fact that it could last for months made it possible to move things around intercontinentally. That fresh vegetables didn't respond as well to that.
Ceremony. How would you know this? We went to the ceremony over in Kansas City for the induction of the man who invented not only the ability to kind of transport frozen stuff, but also the ability to kind of store it once you got it there. All of this is interconnected. And the other thing about this book that's so wonderful about the Spinach King, The Rise and Fall of an American Dynasty, it's not just a matter of his history. It's also American history, which is, in many ways, I was so surprised by that how much of this was about America writ large, and not just about his story, correct?
Well, what's kind of interesting is that my family falls into these kind of eras of American history and the economy. So my great-grandfather, who came over from England in the middle of the 19th century, was a farmer before mechanization arrived. And then my grandfather, began just as machines were coming to farms in the early 20th century. And so that whole period of mechanization, he was in the sweet spot for that. And then his sons, particularly my father, belonged to the next era, with sort of post-industrial branded marketing, consumer society economy of the 1950s. So you have in these three generations, these three distinct eras in the American economy. And so it's a way of sort of making your way through 100 years or so of American history, but never really leaving the Seabrook family. It gives you that kind of interesting viewpoint on American history that sometimes you need a way in, to sort of feel it. Also, you get to see the conflicts between those eras realized as conflicts between the family members. I think it's a really interesting and fun and readable way to get you through a whole bunch of American history that hopefully people will learn from.
Yeah, and like I said, we kind of go back to this. There's a lot of stuff that plays out from, because it is basically rooted. The wealth is rooted in the working class, in a really kind of really hardworking working class, often segregated working class. We get to see the underneath of American culture. But I'm going back to Miss Gabor here for a second, not as the only example, but this is also a guy in your grandfather who actually aspires to be among, as you say, in line with the bankers, in line with the aristocrats. So the book gives us a real kind of great view of not just what's going on the farm, the factory farm, but also what's going on in the echelons of power as well. The access to Stalin, which is extraordinary. And then, of course, later on, the access to presidents, the access to, the idea he is the guy that people call for advice. So he exists in both worlds, both at the lowest level and at the highest level as well, too, right?
Yeah, that's a great observation. But I also think that he didn't know. Seabrook Farms had 25,000 acres of their own. They had another 25,000 acres under contract. You could go for 8 miles in that one direction and never leave the bean fields of Seabrook, New Jersey. That size, success, and that amount of land, he didn't really find an equivalent in America. But when he went to England and saw the landed aristocracy and the estates that they had inherited and then kept in the family for hundreds of years, then he thought, oh, that's who I am. I'm this kind of English aristocrat, and I'm creating something at Seabrook, New Jersey that's going to last for 500 years, like the British dukes have. And really, that's what he told his family, and then he acquired all the trappings, the clothes, and the wine. He drove a Rolls Royce, and he was very much that man. But in America, we're not. That's not who we are, really. Ultimately, we're not. We don't believe in inherited aristocracy. We don't believe in kings, and I think American culture and American society just kind of eroded what he thought of himself until it kind of drove him crazy, almost. But he sort of set himself up, because he looked around, there was nobody in America, or certainly not anywhere near him, that was anywhere close to what he achieved and who he was. So he thought maybe he was a British aristocrat, but it turned out he wasn't.
Yeah, and I find that so interesting, because and basically what John does in the book is he lays out what's going to happen bright and early, and it still ends up being fascinating because it becomes about the sequence of events, the dominoes as they begin to fall. And in some ways, he's got the same pattern as Henry Ford, the idea that what begins as kind of this epic sense of how to make things work, to be a tinkerer, to kind of build something, to create something, and then it becomes a matter of not being willing to share credit either, because it's just a situation where he becomes in his own mind the indispensable man. And that, I think, in many ways is what drives him further and further into madness, because he can't conceive of a world that he is not in. And I kept thinking about that line from Citizen Kane: we don't know where we're going, but a lot of us would like to know what we're leaving behind. And he didn't see anything being left behind besides himself. And that becomes the problem. He ends up sitting in the middle of Xanadu, if we're going to keep the Citizen Kane thing going, believing himself to be a singular event among himself. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say that's a great analysis of the book. Yes, he got too big too fast. There were no checks on him. and he had this group of workers who were willing to go along with him in almost any endeavor that he chose. So, I mean, that was the main thing. He had this workforce that were sort of his support group and backed him in these endeavors, even when they were not the right thing for the business and certainly not the right thing for the family. I mean, I think he's probably a bit of a sociopath too, just to begin with. And then as he got older, he also he had issues with alcohol and drugs, and there were just a lot of factors that contributed to the tragic denouement of the company. But yeah, I think it is a health object lesson in what happens in family businesses if the families don't solve these issues, and if they're allowed to fester and take hold. That's certainly what happened with my family.
Yeah, and by the way, just a quick note to everybody out there, do not take a business model that ends up with you in a bunker all alone by yourself, essentially.
No.
John Seabrook, by the way, .com is where you should go to find out about more of this remarkable author. I've read some of your other books, John, and I'm thrilled to have you on here. By the way, guys, The Spinach King is his 5th book. Are you talking to us from Brooklyn this morning?
I'm in Brooklyn.
Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. This is a great gift, a last-minute gift. Head on over to Barnes & Noble. Head on over to Amazon. Head on over everywhere that books are sold and make sure you pick it up. Really quickly before we get out of here, for obvious reasons, is there an audiobook?
There's be an audiobook released in 2 weeks, and the guy who reads it is Dion Graham, who is, I feel like, the best in that business. He read David Grann's The Wager. He's read a bunch of books. It's fantastic. So wait a couple weeks, you can pick that up.
Wow. Oh, wait. The Wager, the guy who did The Wager is doing this one? Oh, my God. This book is terrific, and that voice is perfect for it, by the way. The Spinach King, The Rise and Fall of an American Dynasty. John, please tell me you'll come back again when you get another book out.
Love to. It's just been fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, guys, hashtag RGR, Road Gang Radio. That's, of course, Road Gang Resistance. That's a big fat Roger that here on Road Gang Radio on RadioNemo.com. The tube of you, and now Dre will break us away. Reduce emission systems maintenance costs? Max Mileage Fuel Catalyst is the answer. This advanced solution promotes a longer DPF lifespan and lets you enjoy fewer regenerations by reducing your soot output by 60%. That means less downtime and more time on the road. Keep your system clean and efficient so you can focus on what matters most, getting the job done. Make the smart choice for your vehicle. Head over to PittsburghPower.com to order yours today. Live hard, drive hard. Shady Rays has got you. If you want a pair of sunglasses that keeps up with your adventure on the road, Shady Rays has got you. If you want to keep your eyes on the journey ahead with a price point right for your lifestyle, Shady Rays has got you. Premium polarized sunglasses with a lost and broken protection program and 30-day risk-free returns and exchanges. Drop in that code RadioNemo at ShadyRays.com and get a 35% discount and make sure you can see where the action is. They got you at ShadyRays.com.
Did you know it's extremely easy to join the Wreaths Across America mission to remember our fallen heroes, while at the same time honoring those who are currently serving our country and their families? Plus, you're helping to teach our younger generation about the value of freedom. With just one $17 donation to Wreaths Across America, you're sponsoring a fresh Maine Balsam Remembrance Wreath. They've really become a symbol of America's respect for those who bravely served and are no longer with us. To sponsor your wreath, just visit wreathsacrossamerica.org. That's wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Okay, you've heard the horror stories of how folks have lost their life savings when the market tanks. Is there a way to invest and make money without risk? Believe it or not, yes. Since 1995, Americans who cannot afford to lose their investments have used fixed index annuities. You get guaranteed income and protection from market downturns. It's a win-win for you and your future. And to learn more, dial pound 250. Use the keyword Truckers Wealth to get in touch with them today.
Well, that music only means one thing. We're in hour 2 of the Road Gang Radio with your host, Jimmy Mack.
Lindsay Lawler is going to be joining us, of course, at the top of the next hour, and that's when we get to the living section, well, the life section of this show. First 2 hours of Road Gang Radio are about the living that you make. They're about the trucking industry. The second 2 hours, of course, are about the life you make that the living provides for you. Give us a call at 615-292-6366. Phone lines are open.
That man said 615-292-NEMO. Don't be scared.
Drop in, give us a call. A few of you guys called earlier. We told you to give us a call back. We'd love you to jump into the conversation. Speaking of jumping into the conversation, Dave Nemo returns on Mondays, as he always does moving forward for Nemo Nation. Hashtag Nemo Nation. We're going to have a full lineup then. We are rack-packed and stacked on that day. That format's a little bit different, guys. On Mondays, what we do is after opening the phones for the first part, checking in with our good friend Touchdown Turtle, Tara Garris, about what's going on the social media. We then hurdle you through the time and space continuum that is the wonderful wide world of trucking. We've got 10 guests over the course of about 2.5 hours before Pittsburgh Power joins the scene. That'll be coming up on Monday. One of the folks that's going to be dropping in is Mark Schwemmer of Landline. We're showing Dre something about this today. Hey, guys, according to data from the OIDA Foundation, truck drivers pay nearly 20 times more per mile than the average car owner. I'm going to let that sink in. 20 times more per mile than the average car owner. So Congress is working towards creating the next highway bill, and there's certainly going to be discussion of whether truckers pay their fair share into that highway trust fund. This is what Charles Sperry, research analyst of the OIDA Foundation, told Landline Now. It appears our members are easily covering any kind of damage and more in what they're contributing to highway maintenance. Those are the words of Charles Sperry, and these are all the words of Mark Schwemmer, who's going to join us next Monday. That story, by the way, is called Truckers Pay Nearly 20 Times More into Highway Trust Fund. The average passenger vehicle, meaning the rest of the folks out there, contributes about 2.1 cents per mile in combined federal and state fuel taxes, according to the Tax Foundation. Meanwhile, the stuff that you get, whether it's from Seabrook Farms or whether it's from Amazon or Walmart or wherever you get your stuff, well, the average heavy-duty truck pays 4.1 cents per mile in federal fuel taxes. Using figures from members of OIDA, truckers pay an annual average of $11,651 in federal fuel taxes, $27,560 in federal excise tax on their tires, trailer, and truck, and $2,921 for the heavy vehicle use tax, registration, and other fees. Okay? That means that the folks over at OIDA alone, I'm not talking about people who don't have, anybody out there looking out for them, anybody out there banding together. Those folks over at OIDA per trucker, the average member, contributes $42,132 per year into the Highway Trust Fund. But the average passenger vehicle driver contributes anywhere from $137 to $296 per year. Let me say that again, because it literally stopped Andre and Madison in their tracks. Let me say this one more time with feeling. You doing your job, whether the company is picking up the tab or you as an independent operator, a small business owner, are doing your thing, you're laying in 42 grand. While me, I always get a deal. That's how things work out for me. Anywhere from 137 to 296. By the way, considering that most OIDA members average about 109,000 miles per year, they're contributing 38.6 cents a mile. Let that land. Oh, brothers and sisters, let that land upon your head. We got somebody on the phone?
There we go. I hit the wrong button. Yes, Doodah Man in Texas has a question for you there, Jimmy.
Doodah Man, by the way, has been one of the biggest contributors on the Tube of You. He's over there making the chat and the miracle happen. Camptown ladies sing this song, Doodah Man, Doodah Man. What's happening?
My man.
Hey, Jimmy, I'm embarrassed to say I used to be real big into, listening to all the highway trust fund stuff that goes on, but I've kind of lost interest and haven't kept up on it. Do they still have the provision where those guys can go in and borrow money from the trust fund that they never actually pay back?
Yeah, they do. And by the way, if anybody wants to correct me on that, I'd love to hear from it. And I'm not going to get into parties on this, but by the way, everybody does it. I want to say that it's done for one or two reasons, and it was the big thing. They finally locked away Social Security on this. They would count the revenues towards, against the federal deficit to make it look like the debt wasn't as bad as it was. I will say this, that either people go there on a plunder raid for entitlement programs or to pay for tax cuts that are unpaid for. So what I'm saying here to you, Doodah Man, is a plague on both your houses is what I'm talking about. Yeah, the Federal Highway Trust Fund, although I think there may be some mechanism in place that prevents that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get Dre on that, by the way. Dre, would you simply look on the computer, or Madison, would you check out, is the question for you, can the Federal Highway Trust Fund be rated? Can you, in fact, go into it and take money out still? I think there have been a couple of people, bipartisan, who have been like, yeah, you can't do that. So we're going to check on that really quickly. But there was a long time where they did that. There was a long time when they did that.
Yeah, I mean, they would cry, say, well, how do you want us to fix the highways? There's not enough money in the trust fund. Well, y'all keep borrowing it for little projects like statues and flower beds around walking trails, and, just little projects that made the constituents happy for whoever really needed help, on both sides. And it used to drive me crazy. And I'd say, well, just quit borrowing from it. Back then we had enough money in the trust fund to handle the infrastructure. But they would, they'd borrow it and then they'd never put it back somehow. And it used to drive me nuts. I thought, well, they'll eventually fix that. But it sounds like they haven't.
And like I said, I usually keep up with this kind of stuff too. But like I said, I really feel like there was a really serious discussion about it in regards to taking care of it. It's almost one of those moments where I wish Washington Trucking Week was still on Friday. Although, as Colin said yesterday, we're kind of glad it's not. By the way, I just want to kind of point out something else to you too. And Mark's going to talk about this on Monday. So I said $42,000 a year, right? $42,132 a year is what the average OIDA member contributes. This is the next paragraph. Dig this. It's also worth mentioning that these figures don't include the state fuel taxes that truckers pay, as many of those funds are used for state projects not related to transportation. There's your magic thing. That's one of the other big things, too, that's a real problem as well, is the fact that a lot of state funding that's supposed to go to that isn't going to that. Now, I know a lot of effort has been made at the federal level to tell states when federal dollars are dispersed to states to tell them, you better make sure that really is going to highways and not to biking trails. And by the way, you know me. I'm a big active guy. I like all that. I think we need bike trails. I think we need mass transit to get more commuters off the road and let you have a better highway to drive on. But the money that's allocated for that needs to be allocated for that. And the Federal Highway Trust Fund needs to pay for the roads that you guys work on. I think we're in agreement on that, right?
Oh yeah. Now I did have one thing that kind of got me in trouble with a lot of drivers and a lot of activists. Like you're talking about your state funds and stuff that would come, that would go back. They would actually a lot of times put that money into farm to market roads, and at secondary roads that really needed help. And when you stop and think about it, drivers use those roads all the time, and they said, "Oh, it's not interstate, so it doesn't count." Well, that's malarkey. The farmers need them, we need them, and actually a lot of the states used to put signs up. Truck drivers pay this much in taxes every year for these roads. Boy, they took those down quick.
I'll tell you this, by the way, and it's so interesting you would bring up this point too, and maybe our last guest made you think of it. But like I said, this book that John wrote, he does get into some real in-depth discussion about the idea of how farmers essentially, along with Dwight Eisenhower, created the national highway system. That it really all begins because you've got to get food supplies across the country or where they need to get, and make sure they don't spoil and make sure they don't spill. And in many ways, I think that the way you kind of begin and end the health of this country is you begin by saying, where is the food? How can we make sure the food and water are safe? And then how do we transport that food and water in the most efficient means possible? The former ambassador of Mexico, he said, the best indication of a free society is the ability to get its citizens what they need in the cheapest, most effective manner. And by the way, that begins with getting the stuff off the farm. That's where it really begins. So
Exactly, and that's,
I don't disagree.
I put out a plan to one of the congressmen down in Texas one time. I just wrote it up in handwriting, sent it in, and I actually got a response. He said it would be a great idea if Congress would let it happen. But I said they ought to return the tax funds that we pay instead of giving them to Washington and let them play with them. Every state ought to keep their federal tax, keep their tax dollars on the field. And and they said, well, this state won't have enough. That state won't have enough. Hey, Texas, Florida, Arizona, they got enough money. Well, hey, we'll be glad to help out. We'll make we'll do a little bartering even. We'll send a little money to Maine. You send us some futures on seafood, or we'll make you a 2% loan, and let you pay it out. But let us control our own fuel taxes. And I guarantee you roads will get fixed because nobody in any state is going to want to say, hey, we got $6 million in taxes this year. We'll have spent 2.5 on roads and bridges that need to be fixed. The rest of it we just kept. Nobody's going to stay in office doing that.
Yeah, let me tell you.
That'll never happen.
Well, here's the thing, though. This is what I sometimes think is counterproductive. I actually do think that if people really did deliver good roads in an efficient and ongoing manner, there is a point where people kind of, it happened with Reagan, it happened with Clinton, where there's a moment where, people forget the first 2 years of Ronald Reagan's term were incredibly choppy. And the first 2 years of Bill Clinton's presidency were incredibly choppy. At some point, people look around and the gas prices come down and the roads get fixed and the economy starts humming. And at some point, it usually happens in the third year, fourth year, you make the investments, you take your lumps, you take it on the chin, and then everybody looks around and goes, wait a minute, who let all this good feeling into my room? And then you get Morning in America, or you get I call it the boom boom 90s. It happens. I think it takes a little bit of political courage, but you can do it. You can do it. You can say, hey, man, I'm going to take my lumps, and people are going to complain about not getting all their goodies, but I'm going to give people good roads and safe streets and the lights working and all that groovy stuff and make sure that the truckers can get where they're going to get. And I think it's a gamble sometimes worth taking. Just saying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about it, Jim Mack, if you were doing that state by state, you know how many jobs we'd actually create instead of hiring these same 3 or 4 huge national contractors, that are just, job to job. States would come in and say, hey, look, we got our own highway departments. We can hire locally and train and build these roads and bridges ourselves. And the job, the job market would vastly improve in every state that did this.
But by the way,
benefits to it.
Doodah Man, are you a fan of Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So Star Driver jumped into the chat over at YouTube, and this is what he wrote. Sorry I'm late, Mr. Hand. This new schedule is totally confusing. Got a little...
You are so right. That's a great one. Mr. Hand, I loved him.
Oh, my God. Remember the pizza delivery, by the way, in Fast Times at Ridgemont High? Mr. Spicoli, are you out of your mind? Did you order a pizza on my time? I've been thinking about this your time, Mr. Hand. Since I'm here and you're here, isn't it our time? And what's wrong with learning about Cuba and having a little pizza on our time? I'm just saying.
Exactly. Or eating that sandwich after the test. I love that one,
Oh, my God.
I mean,
oh, my God.
Yeah.
By the way, it's amazing to think that that's Sean Penn. It's crazy to think that that's Sean Penn. He's a maniac. He's also a brilliant actor. I just think about him in that role, and it's like he is nothing like that as a person, and he is completely Spicoli, and it's just crazy. What are you doing for the weekend? What's happening for your weekend, Doodah Man?
I'm actually going to get the weekend off. I'm delivering today over down in South Texas, and I'm beating feet right back up to East Texas to the house. I finally got my little retirement cabin all finished, so I can actually just go in and sit down and live. And it'll be the first weekend for that. That's what I'm going to do.
Really quickly, one more thing before I get back to your cabin here. Scooper 1677 says, "I love Fast Times." Hey man, who doesn't love Fast Times?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. So I wanted to ask you this. Tell me about the cabin. You said cabin. You built one.
It's kind of a cabin. I bought an old beat up 32-foot Puma super slide, and I've had it for a while. And I set it up out at the lake lot. Me and my buddy out there, Carolina, out there, we're kind of two we're kind of like two grumpy old men. We're just, confirmed bachelors. He's building his cabin. I've got my little Puma, and I've been working on it for, God, about 5 years. And I finally got the thing finished. It's all finished out. I get to actually just live in it now instead of working, living around construction.
Let me tell you something. Weekends off are so kind of groovy and cool, and I haven't had one in forever. The idea of a weekend off was a vacation for me. I'm headed into my first weekend off, and as I'm sure you heard, I'm so excited. Tomorrow, late morning, I am headed over to the Carrollton Boosters Playground, where I am going to be the first base coach for my nephew's Little League team. And my brother had one piece of advice. He said, I want you, anytime anybody gets a hit, to send them to second. I'm like, are you out of your mind? He's like, no, dude. He said, we're going to test every single Little League kid's arm out there. We're going to make them throw these kids out. I'm so excited about waving kids around. I am so stoked about that. Dude, man, we got other calls coming in, but I just wanted to get you in the conversation. It's great to have you. Keep on chatting over there, dude. It's good to see you.
Love the format, man. I'm loving the show. It's like a whole new era, and I'm really enjoying it, man. Great job, you guys.
Thank you so much, by the way. Phone Master Dre, who can we say hello to today?
Well, let me drop the old doodah man, and let's bring in Showtime in Illinois. He wants to talk road funding, Jimmy.
Hey, road funding Showtime. I think you probably got some answers for me. What's going on?
Good morning, Mr. Hind.
That was great.
Thank you. Hey, here's something funny. When I was driving for WCW, this was back in 1999, and I'm going out west. They were talking about high-speed rail between L.A. and Las Vegas, and how they were allocating all this money for it and all this stuff. 26 years later, they're still talking about it. There's not a foot of track has been laid, but they've spent probably billions of dollars that people have lined their pockets with for research and everything, and nothing's gotten done.
Welcome to Season 2 of True Detective. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding, dude. Let me tell you something right now. And this is where it's one of those moments where people confuse Buy American with get ripped off by Americans. Do you know what the big... And I want to hear your answer on this. You know what the biggest problem with the construction of high-speed rail in this country is, and why we don't have stuff like Japan or Europe? You know what the biggest reason is? What do you think it is?
Probably for such a big country. I mean, they have it, but they're a small land-wise country.
Well, here's why.
It makes more sense.
This is one that's going to make a lot of sense to you as well, too, because I don't know if you noticed this. They just finished actually the train route that can actually take you along the Gulf Coast. The biggest problem we have is the fact that, I'm a big favor of when they say buy American. I have no problem with buying American. I think it's terrific. What I have a problem with is, imagine if we told Toyota plants that they couldn't come over here and build cars. I mean, you know that as well as anybody. I mean, dude, cars like there's no tomorrow. So, when foreign companies come over here and build their factories, that's a good thing. I mean, maybe, I don't know, people might disagree with me on that, but come on, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, if somebody wants to build a car here and give Americans jobs, I'm for it. Here's the problem. We have laws in our books that don't let the French and don't let the Japanese, who are the best at building these things, come over here and build them. We would rather give the money to an endless series of studies and an endless series of delays. And the reason why the French and the Japanese won't come over is because, I will tell you, environmental injunctions, which can be often remarkable things for protecting communities that are at risk, can also become a disaster for very wealthy people who don't want it in their backyard. And part of the reason that doesn't happen is because of the fact that we won't get the best people in the world who build those things better than anybody else. And when I say who build them better, I don't mean the workers. I mean the companies that do it. Do you dig what I'm saying?
Kind of.
We won't get the best.
Go ahead.
We won't get the best contractor. We don't get the best contractor all the time. What we end up doing is we end up saying, well, we're going to give it to an American company. We're like, great, have them build it. And then instead, it gets wrapped up in delays and overcharges, because when you don't have anybody to compete with, you can charge whatever you want to charge, and that's the problem. We don't have any competition. Like I said, I'm a big fan. If you can build it here and you can give American a good job, I'm all in favor of that. But if if the people that are running it don't know what the heck they're doing, it doesn't matter how many great American engineers you bring in, if you dig where I'm coming from. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
And part of it is, too, is all the government regulation and all the other stuff that's piled on top. You know, you can't just build a building, because first you have to send researchers in, because we got to find out if there's a snail that if they build it within a mile of that will affect it. So, you know, all this bureaucratic money that's spent on stuff, that's what kills a lot of stuff getting built.
It does.
Because by the time you get a look at all those costs, they just go, screw this, it's not worth it.
Not worth it. It's why the French actually were allowed to get in on the bidding on the California high-speed rail, and when they saw the French, remember, when the French think they have to jump through too much bureaucracy, you're doing something wrong. When the French say, yeah, no more, monsieur, we're done here.
Well, here's a great example. They gave Pete Buttigieg $8 billion to build charging stations. So, like, okay, they built 8 charging stations with that money, and one of them doesn't work. Because all the money gets dumped into all these bureaucrats and all this other research and stuff that has nothing to do with it. And that's why, just like I said, that's why all these countries or companies come over here and look at building and then go, it's not worth it. Or that's why these cities and such have to give all these big, huge tax breaks to them, because of all the other bureaucratic garbage on the backside that kills it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of times you're spot on right about that. A lot of times tax incentives are merely an attempt to offset the imposed regulatory charges that go along with it. So the tax offsets kind of play that way through. I'm sorry, somebody brought up Mr. Hand, and we got to talk about this for a second. How many future famous actors from Fast Times at Ridgemont High can you name?
Past actors?
I'm sorry, I didn't say it right. How many future famous actors from Fast Times can you name? People who were not really well known who become famous. Sean Penn is kind of known, but everybody else, there's a lot of big people who end up having cameos. Go.
What's the lead girl's brother? You know, went on to star in all the Beverly Hills Cop movies.
Judge Reinhold, absolutely, well done.
Yep. He was. I'm guessing he was probably about one of the bigger ones, because the rest of them had a little bit of roles after that, but never really hit it as big as what Judge did.
Wait, let me show you. You ready? Forrest Whitaker plays the football player.
That's right. I forgot him.
Forrest Whitaker's the football player. The two guys that hang out with Spicoli, who are two stoner buddies, are Anthony Edwards and Eric Stoltz. Jennifer Jason Leigh ends up being, of course, a multiple Academy Award nominee. It's crazy, the number. It's the smaller roles that end up becoming the most famous people. And, of course, Miss Phoebe Cates becomes Miss Kevin Kline.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you go through it, like, you're right, the mid-range people don't go anywhere except for Jennifer Jason Leigh. But all the people underneath are like a who's who of, like, impressive cameos of people you didn't realize. I was watching it as an adult, and I realized, wait a minute, that's Anthony Edwards and Eric Stoltz as his two stoner buddies. What the hell is going on here, man? And then Forrest Whitaker, of course, Saw Gerrera himself, ends up playing, Jefferson.
Right. Well, and just on a side note, if you think about that, think about when Tom Cruise filmed Risky Business.
Oh yeah, man. Oh,
he was barely known at that time, and that just exploded, and now look where he is.
Well, it's funny, too, because all of them, this is really groovy as well, all of them get their start. They all get really great reviews. Tom Cruise, Timothy Hutton, and Sean Penn get great reviews in Taps, and then they all end up being kind of the breakout after that, and then Timothy Hutton and Penn end up in Falcon and the Snowman, and Cruise ends up in Risky Business, and at that point, everybody's off to the races. You want some real fun? Go watch Francis Ford Coppola's The Outsiders. Oh, by the way, our friend Scooper, he was right on top of us. He said Jennifer Jason Leigh and Phoebe Cates. Well done, Scooper 1677. Really groovy stuff, by the way. I got another phone call coming in. Showtime, man. You make my morning. It's good to have you back.
Oh, I need some cool buds and some tasty waves, dude.
Oh, those guys are, I can't say the next word, but that's okay. Thank you, brother. Good talking to you. Who do I got, Phone Master?
Oh, man, let's bring on old Chowder in Minnesota. He has a few things on subjects you brought up there, buddy, of course.
Actually, Chowder, we were actually talking about you yesterday in very, very glowing terms when we weren't even on the air. What's going on, man?
Not much there, Jimmy Mac. Good morning. A little hard to hear you, but that's all right. I'll just turn up my 7 hearing aids I don't have.
What?
Hey,
huh?
First of all, you were talking about, finding a name for Madison. I don't know if you got my text, but I got a name for her.
Let's hear it. Oh, capital punishment? Was that it?
Yeah, that's it. Capital punishment. It kind of goes nice.
Explain.
Madison's the capital of Wisconsin. If you guys don't behave or we don't behave, she'll just punish us. I think capital punishment pretty good.
Pretty good. CP?
Sounds like a kink.
CP? Yeah, we can go a little capital punishment. Punishment. Madison, of course, is traumatized now. I just want to point this out
thanks, Chowder.
for all the listeners out there.
She's
actually
in her 2
laughing.
weeks.
She's actually laughing. She's giving 2 weeks right now. We're
That's
all
never
giving 2 weeks.
That's never slowed me down on the offensive or the derogatory towards people's type of viewpoints and ideas. So
yeah, what is it?
Yes,
What's the great line? Have I offended you yet? No. Give me 2 minutes. Go ahead.
That's right. Give me 2 minutes. I'll get to you.
All right, you got 2 minutes. Let's wrap it up.
all right. I'm sorry. All right. But so you're talking about the little bit I caught in because I have to, flip over from stuff about, the truckers pay so much more out on the road in taxes or whatever and fees and that, and it's kind of unbalanced towards cars, and we all know that's to be true. But Chowder's kind of analysis and ideas and theories and ideas on this is it's very easy for, how should I say this gently, our corporate and industrial handlers of the DC 1600 Avenue area to put regulations on truckers because they know freight has to move over roadways by us, and we really don't have a large enough fighting lobbyist group to counterdict that. So it's very easy to keep slapping fees, fines, and wage garnishments on us to do our job to keep America moving because ever since the Patriot Act got enacted, we can't really unionize and stop it from happening, so we kind of have to suck it up. So the imbalance is always going to be there. While cars, they're not going to put it on as much because, one, they don't drive as far or as much. They also can choose to take alternate means to do it, and that's their biggest voting base, so they try to keep their voters to vote the way they want them to, although I don't think they correlate that a lot of drivers are also voters. So I've never really subscribed to that idea, but a lot of people like to correlate it that way, that you try not to alienate your constituency by giving a lot of
I
fees
agree.
to.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Chowder, I got to let you flow because we got to hit this break. But, brother, we love you, and there's a lot that you said that we're going to unpack. Have a great weekend yourself, my friend. Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. We're going to take a break here, come back on the other side. RGR, by the way, Carstensen, Gene Carstensen has a book called A Greek Tragedy, One Day, a Deadly Shipwreck, and the Human Cost of the Refugee Crisis. Man, it's like the bridge at San Luis Rey, but it's true. We'll be right back after these messages on Road Gang Radio. Lindsay Lawler is going to join us for, well, The Life that begins at 9 in the center, 10 in the evening.
The Joshua Chamberlain Society is unlike any other veterans organization. It's truly a family, and I know that firsthand from working with them myself. Their mission is to make wounded veterans and families of deceased veterans feel the support and appreciation of their community for life. Our veterans' injuries are permanent, and so is the JCS support. From monetary assistance like paying utility bills or college funds to helping our heroes find purpose, JCS is a family that surrounds and supports the heroes who have sacrificed so much. Learn more and make your donation at chamberlainsociety.org. That's chamberlainsociety.org.
Are you on the hunt for the perfect place to recharge after a long day or week on the road? Look no further. Hotels for Truckers, designed by truckers for truckers, provides free membership that unlocks access to deep discounts and spacious tractor-trailer parking at thousands of popular hotel chains nationwide. Enjoy incredible discounts, earn valuable points, and enjoy a great night's rest. Download the Hotels for Truckers app today and make your long hauls more restful and affordable.
We We are back live from the Road Gang Radio, which is also the Fastport Studios. Yeah, I'm getting used to those faders.
Hey, Phone Master Dre, how you doing over there?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited about our next guest, but it would help it whenever I go to your mix that I go to the main mix because it makes music loud. But thank y'all for bearing with me, and thank you for bearing with me. So.
Oh, you're quite welcome, by the way. This is the end of the first week of this new platform. You can find us on iHeartRadio. You can find us at radionemo.com by hitting that play button. You can find us on the TubeU. Lots of people are already over there contributing to the conversation. You can find us on every platform there is known to man in the whole wide world. We've been having a very serious conversation this morning, off and on over the course of the last week about a lot of different stuff, and this is a great book, by the way. I kept thinking about Thornton Wilder's The Bridge at San Luis Rey, which is fictional, but the idea of looking at the human factor of a tragedy kept on staying with me as I kind of made my way through a Greek tragedy. One day, a deadly shipwreck, and the human cost of the refugee crisis. Gene Carstensen has written this book, and it is something I got to tell you guys, it is harrowing. It is deeply moving. It's extraordinary. She, by the way, is an award-winning journalist whose work has appeared in the New York Times, The Nation, Foreign Policy, Salon, and broadcast nationally on the world. She covered the Syrian refugee crisis in Greece and Turkey and has been awarded grants and fellowships from the Pulitzer Center, Logan Nonfiction Program, and Mesa Refuge, where she was the Peter Barnes Long-Form Journalism Fellow. She currently resides in San Francisco. This is an extraordinary story. This is an extraordinary writer. Welcome to Road Gang Radio. Good morning to you, Gene.
Good morning.
I just kind of want to jump in here because in many ways this is as much you call it a Greek tragedy. It's also the events that unfold on Lesbos are a mosaic of tragedy. It's almost this kind of unrelenting accumulation of grief because you spend so much time, I guess, putting the human factor into play. How does one deal with a book that deals with this much grief, this much heartbreak, while at the same time maintaining? It's one thing to write a short form journalist story about this kind of stuff. To maintain this over time, how are you able to kind of report what is happening while at the same time cataloging the human suffering that goes on here?
That's a great question. You know what it is? It's just the opportunity to get to know people, because when you're out there as a journalist, you're usually with people that you're writing about for a minute, a few hours sometimes for these shorter pieces. I was with these people for many, many days, and I kept going back to the region. And it's just so moving, to hear people's stories when they really open up their hearts. And so I heard from refugees who were on that boat that day, and some of them just went through unspeakable loss. And also the people who were on the island, because it was not easy for them having all these people and this whole tragedy unfolding right in their fishing village. So I guess what I'd say to you is getting to know people and kind of the human spirit, to put it that way, that's what kept me going.
Yeah, and in many ways, the book is as much about bearing witness. The idea, because I keep thinking about you looking out as the whole thing unfolds. The idea of bearing witness to the event itself and then wanting to put a human face. And I made the Thornton Wilder reference about the bridge at San Luis Rey because I keep thinking about that bridge snapping, and then in that instant, every single one of the people on that bridge, their story getting told, and it kind of unfolding, and then you begin to realize all of these little kind of drops of water are being lost in the blink of an eye. And one of the things I wanted to talk about that really gets revealed in the book is to understand that many of the people who make this journey are making it because they have the means to make it. This isn't like, and by the way, everyone deserves a new life in a new place. But I want to make it clear, this story is not about desperate people in the sense that they were desperate there. Many of them have vibrant, active, wonderful, loving lives, and then in the blink of an eye have to pick up. Can you kind of unpack that for us? Help our listeners understand.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. This was 2015, and Syria was middle-class country, and the people I met all had professions that were recognizable to me, talk to people, I was a policeman, I was an artist, I was a bank teller, whatever. And so these were the kind of people I were meeting. They all had full lives, and they they love their lives. Nobody leaves their home because they want to. Nobody. That's something I heard again and again and again. And I also, a lot of the people on this boat were from Afghanistan, and it's a little different there, like some of the things that went wrong in the country. But the people that I met, one guy, he was only 24, and he'd already been working in the banking sector for like 4 years. He was a very ambitious young guy, had his wife, he had his 2 kids, and the other one was a young girl. She was 13, and she was with her father, and he was a journalist, and the Taliban did not like journalism, and it just became too dangerous. And, to a person, all these people wanted was to have a decent life. Nobody talked to me about, oh, I want to get rich, I want to make millions of dollars. No, they would talk to me about, I just want safety, I just want a safe place to live, and I want my kids to get educated. And they did have enough money to take this trip. Either they had the money in their own family, or people got together and they get money together to make this trip. Because as you know from my book, it's not cheap when you are forced to travel illegally like they were.
And put it in context, about $3-4 grand here per person, right? I mean, I'm trying to remember. It's a lot of money that they have to kind of pull together. The story you actually referred to, and what I really love about the stories that kind of percolate through here is the search that these people have, even in these situations, for normalcy. The whole thing with the cucumbers, reaching for those. I mean, the little details that begin to accumulate around each one of these people's stories is that this is not a standard of living for them. We have this idea, too many people perceive refugees as these caravans of people on the move, when in fact, these are human beings, many of whom had incredibly stable lives that either because of the foreign policies of one nation or another, or an autocratic ruler, have been forced to go on the move and search. They're basically searching to reset their lives to where they were. As you said, they're not looking to get rich. These are human beings who simply have a middle class or a striving working class life, who just want to recalibrate and reset themselves to where they were, not where they hope to be next, right?
Exactly. That is exactly it. And for me, it was just wonderful to get to know these people, and also to get to know local people on Lesbos and these rescuers who came, because they also were just trying to live a normal life. And for them, they just didn't like seeing people dying unnecessarily. It wasn't a political thing for them. And that's, I saw that again and again. Nobody told me anything about their political party. They wouldn't even say, oh, I'm pro-refugee or I'm anti-refugee. It wasn't like that. It was just all of a sudden this humanitarian situation is unfolding on your island, and what do? And for a lot of people, they didn't even really think about it. They didn't call it anything. They just tried to help even a little bit, like even with a bottle of water or small things that they could do. And it's pretty inspiring to be around that, in spite of the fact that it was also tragic.
It resonated with me on a certain level too, because we're currently broadcasting from the city of New Orleans, and one of the few places when Katrina happened that actually did not see the disaster unfold at the level it unfolded at other places. My mom and dad got 13 feet of water in 30 minutes, and I remember them struggling, even though they had plenty of people around the country who rallied around them, who took them in a heartbeat. And I remember how much they were struggling. And a lot of these people are not just leaving their own country. Many of them, most of them, aren't going to anybody. It isn't like, when a natural disaster happens in the U.S., people have people across the state line. They have people who they can call before the disaster hits. These people are going into the great unknown. There's that wonderful line like, Dad, do we have to go up to Scandinavia? It's dark half the time up there, right? I mean, it's,
right.
It's literally like you're sitting there going like, oh my God, it's like they're not just leaving their country. They don't know where they're going. Meaning they might know what it looks like on a map, but they've never put foot down in a lot of these places. They're headed into terra incognita.
It's so true. And, sometimes I would think of of Homer's Odysseus. Now, Odysseus was trying to make it home to Ithaca after the Trojan War, but he hadn't been there for 10 years, and things just kept happening to him. He'd find himself shipwrecked on another island, and that he was in all these unknown places, but yet he knew what his goal was. These people are not lazy. The people I was meeting were incredibly brave, and they had their goal. And the goal was just to get to safety, just to have a decent life. And you're right, a lot of them knew little about the countries they were heading to. And that girl, Rezwana, that you mentioned, wow, she was only 13, and her parents are trying to explain to her. They're sitting, and they were upper middle class in Kabul, so they had a nice life. And they said, we have relatives in Sweden. It's going to be better for us there. And she did not want to go because she's a kid, and she, it's dark all the time. It's cold. And everybody had feelings like that. But yet they went forward. There's also a lot of faith involved, a lot of faith.
Yeah, and it just, like I said, it's a leap of faith for so many of them. And I will say this, one of the most moving things for me in the book, speaking of faith, is as bad as things are, and other people have pointed this out in other interviews. I was kind of almost disappointed after I read the book. I kind of checked out a few of the interviews and said, man, a lot of people asking the same stuff. But I will tell you that the moment when the man comes out of the water holding his son, and it's just devastating. But I kept thinking about all of these people of deep faith who are then seeing other people race to their rescue, coming to help them as well too. And at some point, that's got to be renewing not only for the faith of you kind of being a witness to all of this, but kind of a sense of faith for them that there are people out there that care. Because can you imagine what that event would have been like if the villagers, if the fishing community turns away and just says, we don't want this here? It would have basically, there are people who would have died literally of broken heart syndrome. It was just overwhelming, the grief that comes out of that water on that day, right?
Yes, and I think things like this are happening around us all the time, and we just don't see it. But when you're close, it matters so much, that hand that reaches down, like on the front of my book, I've got on my cover there, those two hands reaching towards each other. And sometimes those hands connect and sometimes they don't. But at least knowing that people are watching. And also that day, the Coast Guard and the authorities were not as prepared as they could have been. And that broke some people's hearts. Some people were saying, why weren't there more boats? Why weren't they more prepared? And in a way, that's because we weren't paying as much attention to refugees. It was so chaotic. But the people, and the fishermen were big heroes that day, both from Greece and Turkey. You're absolutely right. It was stormy. There was a small craft warning, and they were supposed to stay in their ports until the storm went by. But no, what did they do? They went out there. And it inspired me so deeply what they did that I wanted to write a book about it. And you're right, the people in the water, they knew people were trying to help. But what was sad is it was a kind of, I call it like a mini Dunkirk, because it was not that coordinated, the rescue. And some of the people out there in the sea, they waited and waited, and they felt like the people weren't helping. But I think they knew overall that people were doing their best.
I'm a big fan of process too, because a lot of the writing is masterful because you're moving through a lot of stories, taking in a lot of information as well. This is not just simply a matter of kind of telling it like it is. You've got to tell it in a way that actually keeps us moving along. Talk about the way you assemble this number of stories, because you're not just on the shore, you're in the boats, you're also going back to where the people are fleeing from. How do you put this together in a sequential way while at the same time allowing yourself places? I guess since we're making the Odyssey comparison, the idea of how do we stay on the line to get us to our destination while knowing when to diverge and tell the stories that actually deepen the human drama unfolding.
You kind of feel your way into it as a writer. And when you're a journalist and you get a chance to write a book, it's a great experience because, wow, you finally get the time. So I took a lot of time, besides interviewing over 100 people in depth for this. I also studied all the footage from that day because there were cameras filming. There was a couple documentaries that were made. In fact, one of the refugees herself was wearing a waterproof camera, and so I saw that footage. And so over the years of writing the book, it was almost like I just let all of that go into my own consciousness practically. And I wove together all those details that I gathered to create scenes, because the sin for me is boring the reader. I did not want to write a book that would be boring, because it's an intense topic, and this refugee stuff is intense for all of us. So I just wanted to bring the readers right there so they felt like they themselves were stepping on the boat, or they themselves were one of those fishermen, reaching down. And it was just a process over many months and years.
For those of you who are just joining us, Gene Karstison is joining us this morning, and what we're talking about is a Greek tragedy. The book is about the October 28th events of 2015 at the height of the Syrian refugee crisis. It's a boat filled with immigrants from Turkey shipwrecked off the Greek island of Lesbos, resulting in one of the largest crises since World War II, and hundreds of deaths as well. I had a question for you, and I have a couple of theories of what it might be. Were there any stories that were so big and so impactful on you that you're like, God, I wish I could write an entire story just about this person, just about this family, just about this one group of people?
You mean before I decided to write about this book?
Oh, no. What I'm saying is that there are so many stories in here that in and of themselves could be the story themselves. I mean, the idea that there's so... You follow me now?
Yeah, now I follow you. Oh, yes. I mean, I could have done a different kind of book. There's many people in this book who I could have, as you suggest, I could have done a whole book just on the young Afghan banker, Hidayat, whose son dies in his arms. And I'm not going to tell your listeners what happens to his wife and his other son. But I think I could have done a whole book about him. Almost a lot of the characters I could have. But in this book, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to show people how complex it is. And, these crazy border situations are happening everywhere. They happen not in the water, but on our southern border, in the desert, and all over the world. And I just wanted to show people highlight these stories that we don't think about, and that I don't think we can deal with the refugee and migrant situation if we don't also think about the locals, because it's hard to be in a place where they're coming through, and it's hard to be one of those people. And I wanted to show how all those things came together.
By the way, as you probably have guessed, Gene and I are playing a really kind of delicate game here, because we want you to read the book. We're not going to tell you all the details or take out the best parts for you. We really want you to kind of dig in. So we're kind of dancing around details here. The other thing that for me that really kind of landed with me is, like I said, that accumulation of grief begins to go on, and of course the accumulation of heroism is too. But the thing you just said, that you just brought up, the idea that it begins to realize that there is a project here. It's not a polemic, but there is a project here that plays itself through, that kind of talks about the idea that we have to not only look at what is happening on the ground with the communities that are dealing with it and the communities that are coming, but we have to trace the events back too. We have to contextualize why these people have left. And too many people think they're just coming to look for better economic opportunities. A lot of people, like our little girl, 13 years old, do not want to leave. They would give anything if the war or the crisis that is going on would simply stop and they could go back to their lives. And that's what stayed with me, is the number of people who have given the choice would not leave at all, right?
Exactly. And I heard that so many times, not only to do with the shipwreck, but, that whole year, almost 1 million people crossed from Turkey to the Greek islands. It was something else. And I would be out there on the shore interviewing people as they came, and you ask the obvious question, why did you leave? And it was all different versions that they would, they had just risked their lives crossing the ocean in these horrible boats that they had to cross in. They were not safe.
Lied to about the quality of the boats.
Totally lied to. I mean, you remember in this shipwreck that everybody said, oh yeah, it's going to be a yacht. It's going to be like a tourist boat, and they pay more Why do they pay more? Because they're nice people and they want to keep their families safe. That's it. That's why they pay more. And they're not stupid people either. They know that they're rolling the dice. They know that these are smugglers, that they could be lying, but they think, well, it's got to be better at least than a raft. And so they do the best they can. And they're filled with hope. Hope, 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 hope. They arrive with hope, and it's horrible to see that hope when it gets, bashed on the rocks.
The other thing is too is the fact that the people who actually are the ones who they purchase their passage from, what they're promised and what they arrive to, not just in regards to the quality of their transport, but suddenly they're around some really shady characters as well too. I mean, men who are armed to the teeth, men who are barking at them as if they're cattle. And like I said, these are people who come from middle class families, suddenly being barked at by men with guns who are ordering them around like it's borderline human trafficking. It has all of the accoutrements of human trafficking, while at the same time, once they get there, they're cut loose. They're not then put into servitude. But there's a lot of things that resemble that same sort of, infrastructure that goes along with that terrible practice as well. Was that your kind of founding? Yeah, was that fair?
Yeah, you're right. And it's right on the edge of that. The thing is that these people, they enter into these arrangements voluntarily because they don't have another option. But once it's their time, say to get in the boat and go across, then they lose their freedom in a sense because they've paid their money and these people are not going to let you turn around. And so it's a weird devil's bargain because they also need these people to get across because of the country they're from. They would not be given visas. I mean, these people all had money to fly. It would have been cheaper for them, honestly, to just fly to a European capital, but that was not an option.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too, that people also need to understand is that this is a situation where this is the only way out. The only way out is through. The only way out is to kind of do that. I wanted to shift here about you for a second because I want to give people a sense of how one goes about in your career, which is very, very difficult. Like I said, one of the great joys of being a writer is that you get to kind of tell the story, but you also have to put yourself in a position to tell the story. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about how you gain trust and access both to the people you're writing about, but also to be in a position where you can kind of see it unfold?
Yeah, it just takes time. It all started for me as regular assignments as a foreign correspondent. So I was over there, I had to write my stories or go on the radio. And so you spend a couple months and you get the lay of the land. And I had so many interesting conversations and people were connecting to my stories. When I did the book, it's different. That is a whole different process. And you don't know if people are going to want to talk to you or not. And you cannot force them or manipulate them. You have to go at it with integrity. It's not like I'm paying these people to tell my stories. They're taking their time and they're reopening their feelings when they decide to tell their story. So when you read a book like mine, it couldn't happen without the collaboration of these people. And it's hard for me sometimes. It's sort of intense. I would cry after some of the interviews. I would even cry one time during the interviews. And you think, oh, journalists were supposed to be all tough and everything, and we are. But it was heartbreaking when you hear about people, they lose their family members, and they're sharing their feelings of, these are people with pride. Like all they care about is keeping their kids safe, just like anybody. And when you can't keep your kids safe, you start to blame yourself. And so to receive all that and hear all of that is hard. But it's what I wanted to hear that because I wanted this book to go deeper than most usually do.
I'll tell you this. I know a few people who are from Syria, from many who have been here for a long time in the U.S., but the grief that many of them have when they speak of Damascus, when they speak of the places they come from, because they have a memory of something that was beautiful. And people forget, a lot of these places were gorgeous or romantic or, just take your breath away, and they know what is gone. They know what has been taken away from them. Like I said, I have a little bit of experience with this to some degree, but unlike those situations, I got to watch the city get rebuilt. This is a case where a lot of that stuff is never coming back, and even if it does, it is a completely different world. And it's like I said, it's a memory of also a country that will never exist again in many ways, because Kabul and Damascus and a whole bunch of other little places these people come from have simply ceased to exist, which means their identity wrapped up in place is gone.
Oh, you're so right. And, Syrians love poetry, and I quote some poetry in the book about this longing for home. It's very deep, and even when your country has problems, whether it's authoritarianism or a problem, with instability or war breaks out, you still love your country. I mean, nobody wants to leave home. That I must have heard that phrase, variations of that phrase, dozens and dozens of times. And it's not the same when you get to the new place. You're happy that you have a chance. People are grateful, but you always have those memories, like for Syrians, the music. They love these sweets, these pistachio sweets. They love their strong coffee. They smoke tobacco in these big nargile things, and they sit around with a bunch of people. They're very social. So it's hard for Syrians when they come to the U.S. where the way of being together is different. All those kinds of things. You're so right on about that.
I wish we could talk longer, by the way. Jean Carstensen. And guys, you can find her at GeanneCarstensen.net. The name of the book, A Greek Tragedy, One Day, A Deadly Shipwreck, and the Human Cost of the Refugee Crisis, is available everywhere books are sold. We hope you guys will check it out. Jean, you're welcome back anytime with whatever you're working on next. We'd love to have you on again.
Great. It was a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well. Hey, guys, we have now talked about, well, as I like to say, the living. We will now talk about the life as our good friend Lindsay Lawler joins us in the second half of Road Gang Radio. RGR. It also stands for the Resistance. Somebody actually won the Biscuits and Gravy Challenge yesterday. We're going to report on that on Monday on our Resistance newsletter. If you want to join the Resistance, just write Resistance at weekends@radionemo.com. Phone Master Dre, ease us on out down to Lindsay. Jump into the conversation over every conversation Write us, call us, be part of the scene. We've got a great guest coming up next along with Lindsay, Karu Paprik. We'll be right back.
Exceptional value and exceptional values. That's Bennett Trucking. A core commitment of faith, family, and freedom has driven Bennett to being the leading provider of innovative, integrated transportation solutions, both at home and abroad. Bennett's values are not just compatible with providing high-paying jobs and unmatched customer service. They're inseparable. If you're looking for an employer or a partner who believes the best business model is being a model citizen, then Bennett Trucking is the place for you. Go to BennettIG.com and find the folks who share your values.
Wait a minute. Are you running all of your rig's accessories?
All of them. You like that?
No, why would I? Your engine's turned off.
That means I ain't violating no idling laws. You like that?
No, why would I? That means you're running off your battery.
I'm running on an Odyssey battery. You like that?
No, why wait, did you say an Odyssey battery?
Odyssey battery. Rugged, maintenance-free, thin plate pure lead technology, and massive deep cycling capability. Plenty of reserve power to run onboard accessories. Engine on or off. Twice the power, 3 times the life of conventional batteries. That's an Odyssey battery. You like that?
No, I don't like that. I love that. Wait a minute. The crickets stopped.
Odyssey hasn't.
Get yourself an Odyssey battery. Performance you can count on.
Want to reduce emission systems maintenance costs? Max Mileage Fuel Catalyst is the answer. This advanced solution promotes a longer DPF lifespan and lets you enjoy fewer regenerations by reducing your soot output by 60%. That means less downtime and more time on the road. Keep your system clean and efficient so you can focus on what matters most, getting the job done. Make the smart choice for your vehicle. Head over to PittsburghPower.com to order yours today.
I'm a long-haul trucker. I don't have time for nonsense. So when I fuel up, I need to get in and get going with a fuel card that takes me there. Founded in 1978 by a trucker for truckers, Multi-Service Fuel Card is run by real, honest people who are there to help us road warriors keep our freight moving. And with nationwide acceptance, fuel discounts, and dedicated customer service, no matter where I'm going with Multi-Service Fuel Card, I never roll alone. Learn more at neverrollalone.com.
Woo! We are live from the Fastport Studios with Lindsay Now and Jimmy Mack. Back to you.
Lindsay Now, is that my new name?
Yep.
Lindsay Now.
Middle
Well,
name.
you know, there was Landline Now, and now there's Lindsay Now, by the way.
You don't want Lindsay later. She's not fun.
she's a
And you
pill.
don't want you don't want Lindsay then. Ooh. But Lindsay Now is okay.
Yeah.
Guys, welcome back to Road Gang Radio. Welcome back to hashtag RGR. You can find us over at radionemo.com. You can find us on the Tube of You. You can find us on iHeartRadio. We're omnipresent and ubiquitous, I guess is a good way of kind of explaining that as we roll on into Father's Day. We've had a really good show this morning. We call the first half of it, the living. The second half we like to call the life, because if you make a living, you need to have a life, and that's what we
Good.
try
Thought you were going to say the first half is the living, and then when I show up, it's the dead. I'm glad it's not. That was a close one.
How you doing over there, by the way, with that brand new gorgeous microphone?
I know. It's so pretty. It sounds so much better. I love it. I'm starting to feel professional. 46 years in, and I'm starting to feel professional, guys.
Maybe. By the way, don't get too hooked into professional, man. That's when you lose your soul of a child, man. you don't want that stuff going on. Hey,
I am excited. It's been fun to listen to you guys this morning. Great show. Fun to step in here, too. I like yesterday, Jim, that you said the first half is trucking-centric and the second half is trucking-adjacent, meaning anything. That's my favorite thing, especially when I'm writing songs. The truck drivers are like, thanks for remembering that we like things other than just trucks. I'm like, you're welcome, because you are also a human being that's out on the road experiencing stuff. So we're talking to some really cool authors today. Carew is joining us first at a very exciting book, especially on this Father's Day weekend. We're talking legacy, we're talking love, we're talking life, and all that you leave behind, and the things that you want to say to those. And Jim, I said this on Mother's Day. I say it on Mother's Day every year. I will say it on Father's Day as well. You don't have to be a blood father to be a father figure. So I like to celebrate men sort of in general today, the men that step up in the lives of their children, their stepchildren, in your case, Jim, your nephews. Dre, you've got stepdaddy vibes going on for your girlfriend's kids, or sometimes that's, taking care of a neighbor's kids, whatever it is. I think it should be called Father Figure Day, or maybe that's another holiday, but that's what I want to celebrate and want to dive into this book today.
well, no, we were talking about Kevin Lindsay as well, about the idea that when he spoke about his two grandfathers, I mean, he might as well have been speaking about, Dad 1.0 and Dad 2.0 as well.
Yeah.
All this stuff over the course of the week. The number and the idea that people talk about there as a crisis with men, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of great men out there doing a lot of great things for a lot of kids and making the miracle happen. Carew Papritz is one of them. Award-winning author of the best-selling inspirational book, The Legacy Letters, innovative literacy efforts. And this, as you know, Lindsay, this is my jam.
Yeah, buddy.
Inspiring kids to read. He created I Love to Read and the first ever book signings through CarewTube video series. He's also the creator of National Thank You Letter Day. Come on, man.
We love a national day around here.
And we love Guinness World Records, the world's largest thank you letter. An educational thought leader, Papritz continues his personal passion to teach people of all ages about personal and global legacy issues. He's been on Kelly Clarkson's show. He's been on the HuffPost, Reader's Digest. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. And it's our pleasure to welcome Carew this morning. How are you?
Wow, that's an intro. God, I'm doing.
We're available to walk around with you and intro you walking into rooms if you'd like.
Oh, please. I'm there yesterday, so thanks, Lindsay. Great to be on the show, guys. Thank you so much. Hey, and I got to say, it's such a cool deal to be on your show. Years ago, I was on Road Dog Trucking. This was back in 2021, and I actually was a short haul trucker up in the Pacific Northwest in Alaska, and it was the earliest interview I had ever done. It was a 4 a.m. interview, and I said, I'm going to do it come hell or high water, because there's no way I'm ever going to miss being interviewed by a trucking channel. So I'm honored to be back on but on another trucking show. This is great.
Awesome. Yeah, you're on for the new. This is the launch of our new platform this week, where we're able to grow and expand and not be pigeonholed anymore. But so we love being able to introduce our drivers to writers and content that they can either listen to while rolling down the road and or pick up and be inspired on their break. So I mean, crew, if you're cool, we're just gonna dive in and we're gonna go deep right away because
go for it. We're all
okay,
good.
awesome. Love and legacy and everything in between. We're gonna talk about some programs that you're working on, but I want to start just on this Father's Day weekend and dive in right away to what it means to be a father today versus say yesterday. And I think the old version of fatherhood, perhaps, and I'd love your take, was more about, let's say, protection and provision. But the new version, or at least in my new version and my woo-woo self-help head, is about presence and permission, I think. So like giving your kids permission to be exactly who they are. What do you think modern fatherhood is really about at its core?
Well, it's such a great question. And, I had to sort of ponder on that a little bit because, it seems to be, as I like to say, the world seems a little bit mystified these days at what makes a good man and a good father. And so I think that the timelessness, and not the old-fashionedness, but the timelessness of being a good dad is the same in 2025 as it is in 1999, 97, and so on and so forth. And what I mean by that are those values that make a good father: walking your talk, telling the truth, being a great example, being respectful to your wife, there's standing up for others. It just goes on and on. So those core values, living the golden rule, and showing your kids it's timeless. And yes, the permission structure and giving your kids more ways to be kids and whatnot I think that's great. But I think ultimately for guys trying to figure out, well, what does it mean in this day and age? The best of what it is to be a good man hasn't changed. It is timeless and not old-fashioned.
Let me just say this. Something that is so important about what you've said is that, we talk about how much fatherhood has changed. But then I keep thinking about, and I'll just give you an example because it is based on her dad, To Kill a Mockingbird and the character of Atticus Finch. There's so much about him in that movie, while being very, very, very stoic, very, very quiet, very much a man of his time, is also a perfect model of modern fatherhood, isn't it? I mean, we forget that, but that what is best about dads today, the best dads in the 30s and 40s and 50s in America, the best dads resemble the best dads today, too. There are timeless
things. I love that.
It's about clearing out the rest of the nonsense, the assumptions and all that stuff, and getting back down to the idea of listening to your kids, talking when you need to, but giving them a path that they can walk together.
Sure. Yeah. And that's what we all want as human beings, as people. We want to be listened to. We want to be, especially as kids, we want to be protected, and being a good dad also means like knowing when to let your kids fall and when not to. I mean, I think that's one of the key things in terms of, we see a lot of overprotection these days. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, that's part of teaching about life, and appropriately fall, right? It's whatever age that is. But you got to learn how to fall, because you can't learn how to get back up unless you learn how to fall. And so that's another aspect of being a good dad.
Well, and I watched this show. I don't know if you've heard of Mike Birbiglia or not. He's a comedian and storyteller. Okay. I'm a big fan of him. I think you'd love him, actually, crew, because he's a comedian, but he's telling the stories of his life. So he takes you on an emotional journey, and he's really about connection. And it really hit me last night, as it pertains to your book. He was talking about his dad just had a stroke and is in the hospital, and but it was a surgeon. He said, I don't have any memories of my dad talking about his work or what he did or seeing what he did. He said, my memories are, he's gone all day working. He shows up home at 8 o'clock at night. He sits down to read his book about war stories, and he screams, where are my keys? And he's like, that's it. Those are my memories of my dad. And he said, I hate that it took my dad having a stroke and me seeing him in the hospital and the vulnerability of me touching him and rubbing his back to find the connection. He's like, but I touched my dad's back and this softness happened and his lips sort of, showed a little bit of a smile and a tear in his eyes, like, and then we connected. And he's like, if it took him being 84 for us to connect, we got there, whatever it means. So I bring all that up to, talk to you about there are men out there, the men that haven't been perhaps encouraged to show their emotional or vulnerable side. It could feel so overwhelming to be like, how do I get from this to that? So what would you say to someone who doesn't know how to express themselves or are sitting in their truck rolling their eyes at me right now for even talking about expressing themselves? I mean, it's baby steps, but baby steps are okay, right?
Right. No, my gosh. You think about how powerful. Gosh, that's such a powerful scene, and what it means to connect. I love being out in the backcountry. I love being camping, and I'm sure a lot of guys out there do that. And talk about ways to connect with your kids. It can be through sports. It can be through whatever your hobby is, and you show your kids your hobby or whatever that is. And I think that's a form of, and again, I keep coming back to it over and over, walking your talk. So many people are saying, well, do as I say, not what as I do, right? You're being brought up. But I think walking your talk means being there with your kids, showing them your loves of life, what it means to be passionate about this. And as a consequence, you are connecting with your kids. Yeah, I do think the one older version of being a father where you just came home and, let's get the dinner on the table, get the kids to bed, it was just this rote machine of work and whatnot is, I think, of all things, I would consider that a bit old-fashioned, but I think there's a lot of guys that are really engaging on life. A lot of good dads out there trying to do their best to be there for their kids, and connecting. But you're right. I think there's always more room to be there, to be able to talk to your kids, and wow, guess what? To listen.
One of the things about listening that's so important is that as the kids get older, it becomes more and more important as they begin to develop their own voice to listen. You spend a lot of time talking to graduating students, kids who are graduating, which of course 15, 16, 17 years old, that's the last shot people have of what I call in-depth parenting. There's a moment later on that it kicks in again as people begin to realize how smart their parents were and go back for advice on how to raise their own kids. Mark Twain's famous adage.
Mark Twain, you took the words out of my mouth, man.
Yeah, the idea that my father was an idiot at 17. By the time I was 25, I couldn't believe how much he'd learned in 8 years.
Thank you, Jimmy Mac. That's one of my favorites all time.
And me too, by the way. I live in that reality. I live in that terrible reality. I haven't apologized to my dad enough for that one. But you speak to people a lot about that too, because people often forget that parenting continues between 15 and 20 in ways that you never had to deal with before then, because you used to be the voice of God, and now you are slowly becoming a human being to them as well too. What do you tell dads in particular when it comes to dealing with a 16-year-old girl? When it comes to dealing with, when it comes with a 14-year-old boy, and then how do you know when it's time to let them go?
Well, first of all, this interview is over, and I have to talk about a 16-year-old girl. No, so I have a great story on this. My son, he turned, it was like 11 or 12, and up to that point, great relationship, and then it's the day, or the time of life when it was like, well, wait a second, what this fatherhood thing that I think I'm doing so well is not working anymore, because guess what? The cart got ahead of the horse here. And I was like, oh, brother, why are we not connecting? And so I really did a deep dive, and I just read a bunch of stuff, talked to a bunch of people, because I said, I need to get in front of this before it gets, in front of me, which it was. And I realized, and we're back to that key thing of listening, and they're trying to lead their lives now. They're experimenting with learning how to lead. And so you've got to start to let them lead. And so part of it was saying things like, hey, what do you think of this? if it pertained to the family, or what are your thoughts on this? And it's amazing because once again, you're being listened to as if your thoughts have importance in the game of life. And that's like that first time you're starting, hey, I've got an opinion on what it means to be, and that might be a kid's opinion. But once you start that, the earlier you start that, they're going to realize, wow, you're giving me my just due respect. And that starts to open up that communication. Another one was really interesting. The top-down, version of Dad is like, hey, we're heading out in 5 minutes. I tell you what, I would say, hey, around 3 o'clock, we're going to head out. And that was like 6 hours before. And then I'd give a countdown, 3 hours. So there was no surprises. So it was always like, always letting them know what's going on. So it didn't feel top down.
Let me ask you something, by the way. I'm just doing, that's my dad's version. Lindsay's got a question, but my dad's version of what do you think of this is, let me ask you something. Yeah. And it would always mean he was actually going to ask for our honest opinion, or he was going to ask about something. I realized he was doing it, Lindsay. My dad was like, let me ask you something about like this movie. My dad knew about that movie.
Yeah,
but
it's his opener. It's his opening line, and that's okay.
Yeah, it was awesome because he actually wanted my opinion, and that was something I didn't realize until, when I realized my Mark Twain moment when I'm like, you crafty old dude, you figured it out. Yeah, and that's an important
crafty old dude.
You crafty old dude. Well, you're a crafty young dude, Carew. The book we're talking about, the legacy letters. The perspective of this aging, dying man trying to capture everything he wants his kids to know. So Carew, I have a show here that's going to launch in July called We Should Write, and it's about the healing power of writing. It's delivered both sarcasm and soul, so we're not all deep, but I want to encourage people that whether you're an author or like you, a songwriter like myself, a playwright like Jimmy Mack, or just somebody who takes to journaling or putting notes in their phone, it's important to get your what out. I find it it's do or die as far as I'm concerned. And as it pertains to your book, my sister and I gave my parents over Christmas a thing called Storyworth that they don't sponsor us, by the way, yet. Call us Storyworth. But it's prompts each week that they can tell stories, and it just sends them gentle reminders. Hey, and a question: what was dinner like for you growing up? All kinds of questions. Yeah. It's great, and I'm reading these from my parents, and I'm like, my parents are good storytellers and funny. I'm like learning more about my parents, and I don't even mean in what they're talking about in their stories. I'm talking about just like some personality traits about my parents that I'm learning just from seeing them just write in free form. So can you talk a little bit to our audience? Somebody might not be, Carew, that our truck driving audience, which is massive here, they have stories for days and days and days of things they've seen, but then also the struggle of being away from family. They've got a lot to talk about. Can you talk about, maybe give some encouragement to our listeners of how writing for you, really taking paper to pen, getting those thoughts out, has been life-changing or healing for you, dare I say?
Well, you
can also tell me that I'm stupid and that's not true. That's fine too.
No.
But I know that's not the case.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. So this book, The Legacy Letters, and I got to sort of tell the guys out there, all the truckers out there, ladies and gentlemen, it's a series of letters written by this father who never lived to see his kids, and these letters become their practical, moral, and spiritual guidebook. It's a fictional book, but these letters become sort of their manual of life. And I actually wrote this. I'd written a few books before, and this was in my early 30s. And I had, you're gonna like this. I worked in the film industry for a time.
Bless you.
Bless me. That was about it. Feature film industry. And I was at the top of the game and all this. And I tell you what, that the whole fast pace and the golden, the city lights and all that, it got to me, and I said, wow, I don't want to end up here because these people are miserable and making a lot of money. So I sort of went back to my roots. My granddad had a ranch growing up in Washington, so I was around that. And I did, you're going to like this, I did a drive-about. The Aborigines do walkabout, so I did a drive-about around the West, and I landed in this, what I call a 3-bar town, which has got 3 bars in southern Arizona along the border. and asked for a job, and they gave me a fencing job, and I was out there, and I was by myself, and then I ended up cowboying for the next 5 years on this ranch. I was the foreman. I was the top hand. And I picked up the pen again, so here was this if you're going to have a midlife crisis, I always say have it early. So that's what I did, and I picked up the pen.
Have it early,
started
have it
writing
often.
Yeah, have it all. Yeah, don't have it often. Have it once and be one and done. But it was fascinating that for whatever reason I needed to say this to myself about passing on these ideas about life, and it was a very, very, very powerful time. And when the book came out, this was many years later because it took quite a while to write all these letters. People responded in it was a very amazingly powerful because it was a very naked time, and they would respond to these letters. And after a while, I realized I wasn't the author anymore. I was the messenger to what people needed or felt. The other day, I was on the plane and talking to this fellow, and we were talking about fatherhood because we were talking Father's Day, and I had a copy of the book, and I said, "Hey, I do this with people. Just have some fun. Pick up the book anywhere in the book, open it up, and generally you'll find what you need to read." He did, and he started crying right there in front of me, and he says, "I'm sorry." I says, "No, there's no sorry, man. This is the power of this thing, and it's did I write it? Well, it came through me. Let's put it that way." And so talk about emotional connection and the
I love
writing,
putting it that way.
And how powerful words are, and guys and everyone out there who you think of a blank page like, I'm not going to write nothing. I tell you what, even a simple thing about, hey, I've been on the road. You can even write like half a page letter to your kid, slip it under their pillow and just say, I've been missing you and this, and I want to go out this weekend and and do something. Love, Papa. Boy, talk about the reality of words on paper. One of the most powerful things you could do. I do a thing with love letters at Valentine's Day, and just write a love letter to somebody and see how powerful that is. And not a big, long letter, nothing big and long, nothing. You don't have to get all bent out of shape with your piece of paper, but a few words on paper, that talk about walking your talk there.
I'll tell you this, the number of times I've walked into somebody's office, somebody's workspace, somebody's studio, and, you see all the pictures on the wall and all the awards they've won. Inevitably, in a life that is well lived, there will be something taped up on the wall, handwritten from somebody, simply saying how much they love somebody. It's always there. Yeah. It's a great tell for a life well lived because people don't understand the power of a personal thank you card. I just got recently back into doing it, and I am always kind of stunned at how it always kind of comes back. People will actually call you. They'll be like, I can't believe you sent me this. This means so much to me. It is such the simple. It is literally the literary version of a grace note is the best way to kind of think of it, right? I mean, that's what it does, right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's just amazing, that connection. And whether it be a thank you letter, whether it be a love letter, whether it be a note to your kids. I've been doing our son's away now at college, and so I write them. Like maybe once a month, and because that's what my grandparents did. You'd get a letter from grandma, and it's like, and now I just treasure those letters. I like to say it's the old fireman's version of what would you do if you had a fire? Well, I mean, nowadays you don't have to grab the photos because they're up in the cloud, but I'll tell you what, you grab your kids, your dogs, maybe not in that order, I don't know, and then you grab those letters because you can't replicate those. And it's the power of something handwritten because it comes from your hand onto that paper, and then the ink and that paper hold you for a lifetime as long as that paper exists.
Just to be clear, we're not saying grab the letters before the kids. Grab the kids first, but have the letters handy. That's all we're saying.
Yes, have the letters handy. Yes. Thank you, Lindsay. Yes, I wanted to be clear.
You're
not
welcome.
Sarcastic, so.
Do know which kid you'd pick first, though, especially on this Father's Day. Do know, like, if it came down to one. No, okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Oedipus wrecks your life. Good God Almighty. Holy moly.
All right, so National Thank You Letter Day. Let's talk Guinness Book. Let's talk about, you're trying to, speaking of legacy, you're creating legacy, Carew, that this movement that you want to leave behind. You were I love Jim and I talk about this a lot, Carew. When you're creating something, or you don't even realize you're creating something, and then all of a sudden you're sitting in the creation. So we got a couple minutes left, but I'd love for you to talk about the National Day of and the project and the legacy that you're creating that you hope people will ride the wave along with you here.
Yeah, it's just bringing the old fashioned, the timeless art of writing a thank you letter. And so I was teaching a kids this handwriting class at our little local ranch school, and I could just, where it's just, hey, a copy of this, copy on the whiteboard and all this, and I could see they're just bored to death. And so they know me for being sort of a crazy guy and doing different things. And I said, hey guys, I wanted to wake them up basically. I said, hey, what if we created the world's largest handwritten thank you letter the size of a football field? And, oh, Mr. Peppers, that would be great. And then I realized what I said, and I was like, oh, my God. Yeah, well, we did it. It was the size of a high school basketball gymnasium. And it's literally handwritten. If you go to nationalthankyouletterday.com, you can see it. But and we did it on November 14th, so it's in the month of thanks. It's right in the middle of the month, so you can give thanks to all month long. But the running joke is, what do you do with the world's largest handwritten thank you letter? Well, guess what? You have to send it. Next year, we send it with the world's largest envelope, world's largest stamp. I mean, gigantic. The stamp is 15 by 25 feet. It's just a massive stamp, but it's a real stamp, and put it together. We sent it through the Postal Service. It's stamped. We actually had to roll it up like a giant burrito. It was 25 feet. It was like 7 feet thick. It took 25 kids. We had to haul it out to the truck, and we sent it to our sister school, so it's all official. And as a result of that, we got a Guinness World Record and got on the Kelly Clarkson Show. But with all of that being said, all the hoopla, the coolest thing was the local postmaster gave us self-stamped cards to send out so they can give to kids so they can get in the practice of this. And I actually received one from my son. I wish I would from my dad. And I couldn't believe what he wrote. It was something like, this is the best family in the world. I am so glad to be part of it. I mean, these words like, wow, thank you, thank you, thank you, and I love you both. And that was, and on this little card, and talk about getting the impact of what I created. And so every year we try to do something a little different, whether it's to local first responders, or to people in the service, or to mom and dad, or to something. We did this a couple of years ago, to people you haven't thought about in years that were instrumental in your life, like a teacher, like a mentor, anybody, and write a thank you letter to them. Wow, that got a huge response. So again, the power of giving thanks, of kindness, of politeness, all embodied within this beautiful method of writing a handwritten thank you letter.
It's beautiful. You are beautiful. Your soul is beautiful. You can go to thelegacyletters.com to find out more, to get this book and join the wave, ride the wave, because Carew, you're doing what so many others are as well. You're doing it on your own personal level with your own personal giant stamp on it, both literally and figuratively. Thank you for making the time to be with us this morning. Everybody, go buy this book and write somebody a letter. Tell someone what you're thinking. It goes a long way, right, Carew? Thank you.
You got it. Yeah, you got it, Lindsay.
Thank you, Carew, by the way. And guys, don't forget that a personal handwritten note is often the best thing in the world. Since we're talking about personal, how about we tell you about, if you find yourself in a personal distressful situation, go to truckdown.com. They serve all 50 states and the provinces. Their app connects trucking companies with service providers, reducing delays, returning you to the road, and get you back to earning. The time is now for truckdown.com. The time is now to take a break, because the gray man is coming. Mark Graney's going to be here on the show, friend of the show. Can't wait to introduce him to the new platform. Hashtag RGR. Somebody won the biscuits and gravy competition. We're going to post about that on Monday in our Resistance newsletter.
Exceptional value and exceptional values. That's Bennett Trucking. A core commitment of faith, family, and freedom has driven Bennett to being the leading provider of innovative, integrated transportation solutions, both at home and abroad. Bennett's values are not just compatible with providing high-paying jobs and unmatched customer service. They're inseparable. If you're looking for an employer or a partner who believes the best business model is being a model citizen, then Bennett Trucking is the place for you. Go to BennettIG.com and find the folks who share your values.
Live hard, drive hard. Shady Rays has got you. If you want a pair of sunglasses that keeps up with your adventure on the road, Shady Rays has got you. If you want to keep your eyes on the journey ahead with a price point right for your lifestyle, Shady Rays has got you. Premium polarized sunglasses with a lost and broken protection program and 30-day risk-free returns and exchanges. Drop in that code Radio Nemo at ShadyRays.com and get a 35% discount and make sure you can see where the action is. They got you at ShadyRays.com.
Woo, that must be my cue because we're live from Nashville to NOLA with Lindsay and Jimmy. Take it away, guys.
Welcome back to Road Gang Radio. You know, Lindsay, Lawler, I got to tell you right now, we actually launched this new platform on Monday. I can't believe it's only been a week we've been on the air. Being on the air, of course, on iHeartRadio. We're on RadioNemo.com. We're on the Tube of You. We are everywhere. We are airware. By the way, I said to myself, I told Claire, who does the programming, we talked about it as well. We got to get Mark Graney on the show. We got to get him.
It was like the first person. We're like, if we're going to launch a new platform, we can't even conceive of a place where Mark Graney doesn't exist on it in the very beginning, and he so graciously said yes.
Yeah, I mean, like Kentucky Flatbedder, our good friend Forard, a lot of our regular listeners have been introduced to his books because of this. My dad has become a big fan because of the time he has spent on the show. Not that he needs any more fans. His research for the Gray Man novels included The Chaos Agent, Burner, Sierra 6, Relentless, 1 Minute Out, Mission Critical, Agent in Place, Gunmetal Gray, Backblast, Deadeye Ballistic, On Target, and The Gray Man, of course, has taken him to more than 35 countries, and he's trained alongside the military and law enforcement in the use of firearms, battlefield medicine, close-range combative tactics. With Marine Lieutenant Colonel Rip Rawlins, he wrote the New York Times bestseller Red Metal. He's also the author of the New York Times bestsellers Tom Clancy Support and Defend, Tom Clancy Full Force and Effect, Tom Clancy Commander-in-Chief, and Tom Clancy True Faith and Allegiance. With Tom Clancy, he co-authored Locked On, Threat Vector, and Command Authority. He is a friend of this show, and we are so glad he could make the time for us on this Freaky Feisty Friday morning. Good morning to you, Mark Graney.
Hey, good morning. Great to be talking to you guys again.
Thanks for coming back. I feel like, Mark, today, you know, you've been on this show several times. There's not a listener that we have that doesn't know who you are, and I would say there's not a functioning smart person who doesn't know who you are. So I'd love to today take a little time and get to know Mark Graney, the man, a little better for our listeners, because I love getting to know authors and singers and songwriters for who they are. It makes me like their work better. So if you're up for it, I'd love to do a little Mark Graney deep dive today. But I thought about you yesterday because we had on this author yesterday named David Singer. His book is From Cab Driver to Carnegie Hall, and which was such a great balance story, #balance story, where he goes one extreme to the other, driving. He sings at Carnegie Hall and then had to fly home real quick to drive a cab. But I love the stories of who we were, what we did that got us to who we are and what we do. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you had a journey from bartending to bestsellers. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right. Totally.
Okay, and there's a lot in between there, of course, I know, but I'm curious what I mean, I think a bartender is the perfect introduction into being an author because, man, the things we hear and the people we meet. But what's one thing that you learned behind the bar that still helps you in your career today, and outside of course, eavesdropping on drunk patrons for awesome stories you can dramatize? But is there something in those skills that you still kind of lean on today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, you can't ignore the fact that if you like people watching and you're very curious about people, like working in the restaurant industry is like a great place for you because it's not only the patrons, but it's also your coworkers. It's a family, and it's not always a family that you love. You know, it has the good and the bad stuff or whatever. So I think that was it. But I mean, honestly, it's a big part of anybody working in the restaurant industry. It's so much about organizing and prioritizing and just keeping your ducks in a row. And there's so much of that in my job, and so many people that I talk to that want to be writers that are hitting snags a lot of it is just that stick-to-itiveness and that, I guess you would just say, what I do is put out fires all day in my job. People go like, "Do you ever get, writer's block?" And I'm like, about 80% of the time.
It's all I do.
I'm completely stymied, and I don't even understand that question. But you've got to, working in restaurants, it's the exact same thing. It's like you have your tables or you have your bar wrapped with people on a Friday night, and you just have to organize, and you just have to keep plodding through and moving on. And at some point, everybody's going to leave, and you're going to shut down, no matter how crazy it is. And then it's same thing with a book. No matter how far behind you are, or how confused you are on your story, at some point you're going to get to the end of it and get on to the next thing. So it's just that kind of prioritizing life.
I'll tell you this, Mark, and I'm sure you and Lindsay will both be able to relate to this. So back when I was a young man in the city of New Orleans, I started off on the flat top at Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville. From there, I actually moved over to the line. From the line, I became the expediter. From the expediter, I became the assistant manager. And then when I got there, I said, I really don't want to do this with the rest of my life. Found that lost shaker of salt and got the hell out of there. But the one thing at the core of it that you kind of just brought up too is it teaches you how to think logistically. It really does teach you to think in ways about that priority you talk about, the idea that I will deal with that later. Right now, I've got to deal with the fact that if I don't flip these burgers, they're going to burn. Right now, if I don't get this plate from under the heat lamp, it's going to dry out. And I do find that in your books, there really is the ability to balance a lot of things and to make sure that the details of like who's getting locked and loaded while simultaneously then cutting back to what the person who is locked and loaded is thinking is a real balancing act, because you can get lost in the weeds of either going too techno or getting too introspective as you kind of play that along. And kind of piggytail off of what Lindsay's talking about. I just wonder at times, do you ever catch yourself while writing having these kind of flashbacks to like, okay, which drink is the toughest to make right now? Which one do I got to prioritize at this moment? And can I pour this draft quickly?
Yeah, I do. Like everything that I've done in my life works into my books in the weirdest little ways. So I've definitely written restaurant scenes that are action scenes, and I think about like, golly, if I was in the kitchen and I was getting chased by guys, I would throw something in that fry vat and run. Just things of that nature. And but also like in the more like metaphorical sense, it is just as you said, you've got to prioritize and do everything in a certain order. But when you work front of the house, everything can change in a heartbeat. It's probably the same in the back of the house. I never did that, but yeah, it's like no matter what you have in your head, the next 6 things you have to do in quick succession. Some patron grabs you and says, whatever, I need this, or can we change this, or whatever, and you have to just order a whole lot of things in your head. And when I write books, I always feel like, that if you ever saw that movie, A Beautiful Mind, how they sort of did the graphics when he was thinking up formulas of, he would just see things in his head. And it's like, that's sort of how my brain works, except none of it makes any sense to me. So like in the movie, you kind of felt like, well, I can't understand these formulas that the character is seeing, but surely he can. And when I look at it, when I'm thinking of my book, it's very amorphous, and there's very like, yeah, there's going to be something with this, and these things will intersect, but I have no idea how. And it's depressing at certain times of the year. I just want to give my advance back and just forget the whole thing and say, oh, I'll try again next year. And it's the sort of thing like the restaurant business, because you can get so overwhelmed at certain times, and you just have to just keep plugging away.
Keep plugging away, which Mark Graney does. Mark Graney, the legendary Mark Graney, is joining us today. Mark, I read an article from you recently. I think it was in Good Housekeeping. But anyway, you were talking about your own plot twist in your life, and by going on a blind date, being set up and falling in love at 50 and meeting Allison, your beautiful wife, which, by the way, at risk of sounding like a total creeper and stalker, I love following you guys online. You're just like the cutest couple, and I want to be a part of your family, but I won't show up in your bushes, I promise. Well, I don't really promise, but no, it's okay. But I love that article. I love the idea. We love talking about like those moments that change everything. That you're heading in one direction, and it's like the plot twist that sends you off in a whole different direction. And I love how you connected that in your own life and in your writing. And what I'm curious about, because I think about as a songwriter myself, I think about the difference of the songs that I wrote when I was single singing in bars versus the songs that I wrote when I was in a relationship versus being married, the songs that I wrote versus becoming a parent, the songs I wrote, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm curious to you on Father's Day weekend, you meet Allison, everything changes. She has 3 beautiful children that become part of your family. And how does that shift your perspective, or does it? I don't know, but how do you draw in the actually being in a really happy, healthy relationship, supporting and raising these beautiful children? How does that change how you think and write? And do you ever have to go back to single Mark in order to like pull from, to get into your characters, or do you stay in current Mark and just bring that new perspective to it?
So I like having the multiple different perspectives. First, I have to say something about songwriting, which I'm not a songwriter at all. But when you've had, I thought it was really fascinating when I got divorced the first time, and my life like really changed before I met Allison. It's like every song that I sang along to every day, I realized was like about like infidelity and all these horrible things, and I was like, wow, that stuff didn't mean anything to me. I just thought it was a cool tune. And it's like, now song lyrics are killing me right now because so many songs are like sad. And it's just like, you have to have the perspective in life to appreciate the lyrics. So, good on you for writing that kind of stuff. But yeah, with my books, it is the two things. Like the book I'm writing now, which is a Gray Man novel, involves a lot of family dynamics. My dad died 20 years ago this month, and I miss him every day, and he's a great, great guy, and I want to write about like Court's relationship with his father, who's still alive, and all these things, which probably wouldn't happen if I didn't have that own fodder to draw from. And I've written another series called Armor. It's about very much a family man who also works as a civilian contractor, and then he works for the State Department in security. And that, definitely pulls off the fact that I have 3 stepkids. But there are times where I definitely need to pull back into the solo side of it. Right now I'm in Washington, D.C. doing research on a book, and my wife is here with me, and we've eaten in some really great restaurants that will feature in the book. And we've, gone to some neat places which will feature in the book. But yesterday morning I got up at 5 and I needed to go to this jogging trail just to see if anybody was out there at 5:15 in the morning, because in my book, the Chinese spies meet with their American informants, and I just wanted to see what that would be like at that time of the morning. And so, that was very much a solo thing. My wife wasn't going to do that with me, and my character is going to be alone when he comes across this. So I did that on my own, and it was that right kind of vibe. But I do remember doing research trips alone, which I did. I went to Africa last year alone, and then sometimes Allison goes with me. And it, hopefully the stories, it makes them like more robust and well-rounded. Like I still can pull on, being that solo guy as well as being the family man, and work them both into the stories.
I'm not going to lie. Every time I dig into the world of Josh Duffy, I keep thinking about how much of Mark's married life is actually playing itself through here. I won't lie. It's kind of like that. I always look at those books that way.
Yeah.
And
we got to ask him, Jim, because we've developed our own little tradition. Jimmy, you, me, Tara. When we're in DC around Christmas, we broadcast live from Arlington Cemetery, and then we like to go to Founding Farmers in DC. I don't know if you've ever eaten there or not, but it's one of our favorites. Farm to table.
I haven't eaten there. It's in Georgetown, right? Is it?
Yeah, there's 2 different ones, maybe even 3. I think there's 2. Anyway, that's my shout out Founding Farmers. That's become our tradition.
Yeah, we actually do.
Good to know.
We do that as a right before Christmas. You should check it out. You talked about the idea of family, and one of the things is these books begin to accumulate, and it's really kind of great, the idea that we meet people who often don't meet in a couple of books, and then they get together. And there's this collection of good guys and their extended families. Do you feel like that part of what world building really is about is not just about building a world of heroes and villains, but building a world of relationships, of people who love each other and care for each other, even if they don't always express it clearly or express it directly. Do you feel like in many ways what you're building here on the page is as much a family as it is a series of action novels?
Yeah, so if you'd asked me that, when I'd written book 1, I wouldn't know what you were talking about. But I'm writing book 15 now, and it's so funny how the stories take on this texture, because I'm very adamant that I never want to write the same book twice, and I don't want it to be this template where, in the first act, the hero survives something and then learns something that's going to lead him into the second act where the 4 action scenes will take place, and then in the third, I don't ever want it to be that type of thing. I want to sort of tell the story that I want, and not just try and give people what they had last year. I think a lot of times fans think that they want what they got last year, or that they think they know what they want. And I say that as a reader myself. If I pick up a Tom Clancy novel, I think I know what I want him to say, because I'd read that last year and loved it, or anybody. But it's much better to be surprised. It's much better to be led down a different path. And so I have these characters in the Gray Man series who aren't in every book, as you said. One of the things that was tough for me when I wrote the Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan novels was you kind of had to have all the stars that Tom came up with. You kind of needed to have them in every book. And as the Gray Man series got into, book 6 and book 8 and book 10 and book 14, I had told myself I didn't want, a necessity to kind of like tick off all the boxes with all the characters. So it's fun to have people come back in and relationships morph and change. There's a guy named Zach Hightower in the series who kind of was a nemesis for Court at one point, and now they're very much comrades, and there's reasons for that. That's not just like a plot twist I did, or a thing I did because it was convenient for that particular book. It just sort of made sense to morph that over time, and it's fun. If you're writing 15 books in the series so far, you want them to be different. You'll go crazy writing the same thing, I guess. And so I like to draw on all aspects of human psychology.
I'm going to actually go back to what Lindsay was talking about earlier, because it's been kind of needling at me since she brought it up. Let's talk about restaurants for one more second, not because I want to hear your opinion of what the food is like there.
But because you're hungry.
But no, because they're the best places to write about. I mean, I think about Casablanca. I think about all of the movies and all of the great books. It just feels like when it comes to bar rooms and it comes to restaurants, particularly when you can give us the POV of either the people behind the scenes or someone who is isolated and simply people watching, they're just great narrative devices to set the scene and create a world almost in the blink of an eye. I mean, is that why you gravitate towards them? I mean, I always keep thinking about, everybody goes to Rick's place in Casablanca.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what readers like, and again, I'm a reader, so it's not any different for me, is to see what's behind the door that says no entry or no admittance or whatever, whether that's in a museum or the CIA or at Burger King. It's kind of like aspects of, and I used to work at Burger King when I was a kid, and so I like to do it for that reason and kind of show, because that is something I know something about. But also, I mean, they're just very common meeting places. It's also, just the logistics of writing a book. In a movie, you can have visual. You could put all the visuals in there, and it doesn't cost you a word of it or any time to have the visuals in the background to orient the readers. And as a writer, you really need to orient the reader in the scene. So if you have two people sitting at a table, or sitting at a bar or whatever, people, just instantly know what that scene looks like. You can describe it in just a few words instead of like completely painting the picture of what it's like in this 3D space that's important for some reason. And I've done a lot of action scenes in like nightclubs and stuff, because obviously that's very visual and visceral and kinetic, and there's kind of a 3-dimensional element of a lot of my action, and so I like to do that. So I don't want to do the same thing all the time, as I keep saying, but I found myself at one point in my career having a little too many action scenes in abandoned buildings just for the simplicity of it all. And so now I like to try, I'm here in DC looking at very, very specific street corners and very specific just things at the canal and all these different things that I want to work into the story and make it feel like a very, a domestic espionage thriller.
Mark, actually staying on that tip as well, like immersing yourself in the scene. I have this I never did it when before I had a kid, before we adopted our daughter. I never went away and just went by myself and immersed myself into some other culture. But I have this fantasy, Mark, maybe it's just because I do have a kid and I have a fantasy of leaving my family, said with all the love in my heart, but to have a quiet moment to be creative. But I have a fantasy of going to a small town, especially I write a lot of country music. So going to a small town, getting a little rental for a month and just walking around and sitting at the country store and sitting at the local restaurant, seeing people come in and out, or, going off to Taos or somewhere. I have these fantasies. I've never done it. I don't know if the fantasy is better than the actual reality. I feel like if I actually did it, it would be a really lonely thing. I mean, I can't leave my family for a month, but I'm curious to you, what, you are very happy at home, so maybe you don't want to get away, but is that, and I know Allison comes with you, but the idea of going as a writer, the cliche writer gets a cabin in the woods, is that real, or is that what brings more perhaps writer's depression than necessary, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I did that for my first book, for The Gray Man. I actually finished it in a cabin in the woods in Mississippi. And
I love that you had the cliche moment. Thank you. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, I did, and it wasn't as romantic as you would picture it.
Okay, good.
Because we've all seen Misery, and his wasn't very romantic either. But that's probably what it would happen. But I mean, the best places for me to write, bar none, are a little coffee shop in London, in Knightsbridge, or in Hong Kong, or something where I can just sort of get there and get there in the middle of the action, but I always have headphones on with rain playing, so I'm not distracted or disturbed. And I like doing that. Here in DC, I just basically sat on my balcony in my hotel and have done work like that. There's a fire station right down below, though, so every 10 seconds. Apparently something's burning in D.C. every minute. But again,
more ways than one.
Yeah, exactly, and it's probably by the weekends it'll be more. But
yeah.
So the reality and the fantasy are a little bit different, but I mean, it really, there's nothing greater as a writer than to sit down at 6:30 in the morning or whatever, and then look at your watch and it's noon, and go, oh my gosh, I worked that whole time. I wasn't struggling to stay in my story, because a lot of time just the focus isn't there, and you just keep getting pulled out of what you're working on with other thoughts, and it's just, there's this mindfulness that you need to be creative, where you can't just keep every 10 seconds doing something. And so, yeah, I totally agree with you that there's this idea that you could go just lock yourself in a cellar. And I think I read that Sylvester Stallone wrote Rocky in 3 days by basically locking himself in a room and not come. You hear these stories that you don't know how apocryphal they are or if they're true. But yeah, I think that keeps the dream alive for us. But it's not always, the reality is not always as romantic as we make it out to be.
Well, I also think it falls under that category about the Zen painter, the famous story about the Zen painter, and the Japanese warlord says, "I want a perfect tulip," and he says, "Okay, I can do that for you. Orchid, I want a perfect orchid." And he said, "I need a month," and he goes out there a month later, and he comes in. He says, "Let me get you your orchid," and he sits down, and in 1 hour he draws the perfect orchid and gives it to him. And he says, "Why did you need the month?" And then he opens up the drawer, and he has 29 other pictures that he's been drawing, each one better than the next. A lot of people who type out that script in 3 days have been working on it for the better part of 3 years mentally and taking mental notes and all that kind of stuff. People always say, hey, I was an overnight success, as Lindsay loves to say. It just took me 7 years to get there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the reality.
And I beat myself up
17.
so much. I beat myself up so much because I want to write my book. My book's due in the end of July, and it'll be January and February, and I haven't written a word. And it'll be March, and I've written a tiny bit. It'll be April, and here we are in June, and I've written half of it, and it's due in 6 weeks. But
I have such anxiety right now. Oh my god!
it happens every year because you just go like nothing's clicking, but things are really sort of working in your head. And I really in the past 10 days have, developed so much more of the story in my head, and of course jotted down notes, and I think I'm going to be cooking with the gas the last month. But you feel like you should have this pace of 1,200 words a day. I'll have it done on time, but it doesn't really work like that. There's days where there's days where I write backwards, where I have fewer words at the end of the day than the beginning of the day, and it's very, very stressful. But the process involves a lot of just like staring at the wall and going like, well, why would these people connect with these people in a way that's not completely cliche? And you work on those little things in months, and for months, and then when you finally solve that problem in your head, you're like, all right, the dots are connected. Now you paint by numbers.
Just promise me one thing, Mark. Promise me you won't say to yourself 2 days from now, I would have gotten this book done except for those meddling kids over on Road Gang Radio. I will not take the heat for that one.
Oh, no, I'll take that. I'll be a part of the demise. Okay, Mark, a quick lightning round here. Okay, so your go-to writing snack or drink that's there on your table with you.
It's going to be a venti soy latte because I don't do dairy, but yeah, it's not very sexy. It's supposed to be scotch or something like that. Everybody says, every time I've drank and tried to write, I'm just don't want to write. I'm just like,
I end up going out.
Court blows up in his car.
I did it.
Okay, what's the most quote unquote author thing you do that would make people laugh? Like, fountain pen, index card, narrating your own grocery trip, whatever. What's something that...
Well, in my office, my writing desk is immaculate, and it's so perfect, and it's so cool looking with all this old world stuff and leather and blah, blah, blah.
And you never sit at it?
I never sit at it unless someone's there taking my picture. And they always want a picture of me at my desk, and I'll put my laptop there, and I'm like, this feels so weird. So that's kind of like, that's a complete affectation.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, the last one. What's the one conspiracy theory that you'd write about if you didn't care what anybody thought?
If I didn't care what anybody thought, probably that people high up in the U.S. government are actually working with the Chinese, something like that. Because I just feel like the desire for power in this world and the desire for money in the world, not necessarily the Chinese, but just like some, the quote unquote good guys are actually completely in league with the bad actors, because there's just so much evidence of people doing anything for money and power, and so I would write about that.
So you basically write Angela Lansbury. I just want to make sure I'm straight on that.
Yeah. I would write Angela Lansbury.
Mark Graney, of course, markgraneybooks.com is where you can find him and all of these wonderful books. They are continuing to show up, and they're continuing each one to be a new and different twist on the Gray Man, not to mention all the other great stuff, including Josh Duffy and the Tom Clancy novels. Good gosh almighty. Thank you for making the time during deadline time. We really appreciate it, Mark.
You bet. It was great talking to you guys as always.
Thank you, Mark. Go have a great meal with Allison. Tell her we said hello, and
Happy Father's Day.
Get out of there by this weekend, hopefully, or at least be hiding in your hotel. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be out of there by the weekend.
Thanks, Mark Grady. Check it out, Mark Grady Books. We will be right back. Our own Tara the Turtle, joining us with Breaker Back Talk, our first installation of it with me and you and Tara, Jimmy Mack. Looking forward to that. And then we got country and western music news coming up right after that, because on this show we celebrate both kinds.
All kinds.
We'll be right back.
Join the resistance at Road Gang Radio.
Are you on the hunt for the perfect place to recharge after a long day or week on the road? Look no further. Hotels for Truckers, designed by truckers for truckers, provides free membership that unlocks access to deep discounts and spacious tractor-trailer parking at thousands of popular hotel chains nationwide. Enjoy incredible discounts, earn valuable points, and enjoy a great night's rest. Download the Hotels for Truckers app today and make your long hauls more restful and affordable.
In trucking, financial security and retirement isn't a guaranteed destination. That's why Truckers Wealth is here. A financial hub designed for you, Truckers Wealth combines expert advice and tailored solutions. Tax-free wealth plans grow your nest egg. Guaranteed income retirement accounts provide stability, and no market risk accounts protect your investments. That's hard-earned money, a steady stream of income, reliable growth. That's a retirement. That's a destination worth investing in. That's Truckers Wealth. Truckers-wealth.com. Experts dedicated to your success.
The mission of Wreaths Across America is unwavering, remembering our fallen heroes, honoring those who are currently serving, along with their families, and most importantly, teaching the next generation about the value of freedom. And you can join our mission with a $17 donation that sponsors a fresh Maine Balsam Remembrance Wreath. Each wreath will be laid in honor of a veteran who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. To sponsor your wreath, please visit wreathsacrossamerica.org. That's wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Woo! It's about that time at the Fastport Studios. We're going to do a little breaker talk back with Jimmy Mack, Lindsay Lawler, I think Tara Garris.
Tara Garris.
Who that
Touchdown
is?
Turtle.
Mm.
Touchdown Turtle. Tara Garris. Lindsay Lawler, Jimmy Mack, Road Gang Radio, hashtag RGR. Go to radionemo.com. By the way, before we actually get to the title, hey guys, here comes the title. If you want to look as cool as somebody in a Mark Graney novel, I suggest you go to shadyrays.com. They got you back. By the way, they got a lost and broken protection program over there, guys. If you check on over there, you'll also find the best customer service in the business. If you lose them, if you break them, go to shadyrays.com. They got you back. Good morning to you.
They got you. I love when you do that in the commercial. They got you.
They were very, actually, it was really funny. We cut that spot, and they were like, I sent them the text for that spot, Lindsay, and they were like, well, you say they got your back a lot there. And I said, I understand. So they sent us copy. And by the way, they're people who do their marketing. If you check them out on golf tournaments and all kinds of other stuff they cover, they do a great job. So, I take their suggestions seriously. So they sent me copy. It was great copy. I did it. I sent them both versions. And they went, nope, we got it. We understand what you're up to. Go on.
Were you like, hey, listen, Shady Rays, I gotcha.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
I gotcha.
And you know what's cool about them as a partner here, a trusted partner we work with? There's a lot of companies that, for me at least personally, they make so much sense because they speak 100% to trucking because they gotcha. They literally have something for everybody. They got me. You know that I love my aviators from them. And it's interesting. There's not a lot of companies that do this well. They do it really well where they're able to have something for everyone, but still be very brand specific to what they do. It's not like they're just like all over the place.
They're not trying to be all things. They're not
trying to be all things, and yet somehow they are in a very authentic way. So anyway, obviously we love Shady Rays. Head on over to shadyrays.com because you know what? They got you. You know who else has got us? Our own Tara, the TT Turtle, joining us on Breaker Back Talk. I'd like her to explain how she or y'all came up with that name outside of the obvious, very obvious. But how does that name pertain to what we talk about today? I know, Terry, you may not like to go off script, but I'm going to make you pontificate here this morning.
Good morning, Jimmy. Good morning, Lindsay. I'm excited to go off script this morning. Are you guys ready?
We're ready. We're ready. Tell us what's going on.
So, Breaker Back Talk. I wanted to take my name. It used to be called Tara's Tidbits, and I wanted to take my name out of it. This is not about me. This is about taking the feedback and the comments from the road straight to the radio. That's not me. I'm just bringing it to the table. So I wanted to change that. And I came up with the name because, and I'll be so honest, I have no idea what this is from. Look, like I don't know where most things are from, as you guys know.
This is a safe space. You can be honest.
This is a safe space. But my mom growing up used to say something that's like, Breaker 19, is anybody there? Come back, truckers, and talk to Teddy Bear. Do we know what that is from?
Oh yeah, BJ McKay and it's my best friend Bear. Absolutely, that's.
See, I've just heard that growing up, and I knew it had to obviously pertain somewhere, but I didn't know the actual reference. So that's where it came from. But
I love the honesty. I love that you're able to come on here because I think there's a lot of times, Jim, and you've said this to me before, like Jim has encouraged me to be open. Like, I don't drive a truck. I never have. I would never pretend to. And I've learned a ton of the culture, obviously, over the years. But truckers love to explain to you where things come from. They love to show their knowledge. So I love you being like, what does this mean? I don't know, because you're a part of the community, but you're also learning from that community you're a part of. So I think that's awesome.
Learning every day. And yes, I love being open and honest. And Jimmy always thinks that I know movie references. And I think we're finally to a point where instead of saying, have you seen this movie? It's like, hey, I know you haven't seen this, but like, here's the explanation of it. So we've gotten over that. And I'm watching more movies, but just probably still not as much as Jimmy would.
Not enough.
To be watching.
Get on it.
Not enough.
Get on it.
Not enough
There's a
hours
limit.
in the day. Well, okay, before you jump into your segment, I want, if you've been under a rock, this is our own Tara Garris. She is Tara the Turtle. Tara does, I can't tell you what her job title is because her job title is all titles. She does so many things in this company. She and Nick DeMeo both fall under the, what do we do for this company? Yes. They fall under the answer of yes. That is what we do. And it's been such an integral part in us making this transition. And I'm going to say this, Jimmy Mack, and I know that you'll agree. Not only has Tara been a huge part in us making the transition, Tara, to me, is a huge part in why I wanted to make the transition. She is, I could be her mom, and she's so much more mature than me and supportive.
True story,
and
folks.
I forget sometimes that I'm literally probably the same age as her mom. But she has been such a great support for us and sees what we're doing, sees us. She's a seer and knows what her own strengths are and does that, gets out of the way, let us do our thing and then get out of the way. And it's a really integral, exciting part of the team. So I love you, Tara. We can't do this without you, nor would we want to.
Wow, I'm speechless. Like, thank you for saying all of that, and I love you guys so much, and I'm so excited to just be on this journey. I mean, what a week it has been, literally launching new shows and working on the technical side of it, and most importantly, like hearing all of you from the road. We've gotten a lot of feedback that's been positive. We've also got a lot of feedback that's been just useful, like, hey, there's audio levels and streaming issues. Where do we listen? And the comments have truly helped us improve. So thank you so much for that feedback. And thank you for just being here. We have so many things in the works, finalizing music licensing and bringing video feed coming soon. Which
Oh, crap. I'm going to have to put pants on.
Well, stand up. If you're not wearing pants, I need you to stand up right now. Stand up and get counted. Jump up, and truck down. I want to kind of add something really quickly. I don't want to kind of run the clock out on Tara, but you know what? We always do run the clock out on Tara. And I want to kind of piggyback on, I got it right that time, not piggytail, piggyback.
Piggytail back.
I want to piggytail back. I want to piggytail back on what Lindsay was saying. I want everybody listening right now, all our friends out there, to understand something. 7 weeks ago, we found out we would not be on our previous platform. By the way, join the resistance.
Not our choice, but we're grateful for it.
And by the way, buyer's remorse is not happening on this end. I just want to also point out, though, that we found this out about 7 weeks ago. Now, we had plans to do certain things and go certain places and grow this company in ways that would make everybody happier and wealthier and wiser. That job was supposed to take anywhere from 6 months to a year. What Nick, our good friend Phone Master Dre, Claire, and Tara have accomplished in those 7 weeks, Lindsay. And by the way, you know, Dave built a couple of tables, and I moved a couple of things, and you know, you set yourself.
I sat here in Nashville and bitched about not being a part of it.
No, you had to sit over there because we had to make sure that connection worked. This is the only time I will do this to the end of the week, and Lindsay will get this. I told this to Tara yesterday. We did essentially a Q to Q, a paper tech, a dress rehearsal, a preview audience, and an opening night in one day. In 6 weeks, these people accomplished the impossible. Think about the fact that we have a new website. 6 weeks. We have a new website that can actually broadcast a radio show, that we have a functioning YouTube page, that we have the ability to be on iHeartRadio, that we have the ability on RadioNemo.com to allow people to subscribe, that we have a resistance newsletter. That we have all kinds of stuff going on. And this has been, as Lindsay opened the door for by praising Tara so much and everybody else involved, I just want to say, these people have accomplished something darn near impossible. I don't know how they're ever going to survive, to quote somebody who ain't surviving so well these days. But that's exactly it. These people have done a miracle. And now she's here in a segment. She's here on a segment, Lindsay.
And speaking of that segment, Tara, take us into Breaker Back Talk. You know that we love you. What have you got cooking?
Thank you guys for all the praise. I seriously don't know what to say, but we'll just get to what everyone else has to say so that I don't have to.
Nicely done.
Nice transition. Look at you.
Nice transition. Here we go.
Radio talent.
So first, radio talent. I want to first shout out the live chat. We've had this new live chat feature that we've never had before, and I'm so excited to see all the comments in real time. It's so cool. And just a few shout outs from some of our regulars in the chat room, and it's going to be a long list. Horse Feathers, Rebecca Brewster, Mark, Showtime, Master Chief, Paranormal Pie Man, Ten Ring, Doodon Man, Stray Cat, Zach B, 4 Gina Harrison, Dogman, so many more. If I missed you, comment in the chat right now. I'll say it. You guys rock, and I'm so excited to have this live chat. And be safe about it, guys. Be safe, please.
Yes.
But
no
so
driving
cool.
and chatting.
No, but if you even some people just dropped in right at 7 o'clock and they've just said good morning. We never hear from them ever again, but I know that they're listening, and it's just so nice. They just check in real quick, and that's just valuable enough. We love that. So thank you guys so much for being here. But let's dive into some YouTube comments. We've been posting a whole lot more on YouTube lately, so we've gotten a whole lot more comments. Are you ready?
All right.
Ready.
Okay, here we go. Lindsay, you'll like this first one.
Yeah.
Sarah W. wrote, love Lindsay Lawler, great country music singer.
Aw, Tara W, call me. I love you so much.
We agree. We agree. We love you. And then we've got a few comments from Sean F., who's a loyal listener, who commented on our recent Tech Talk with TMC, Pittsburgh Power Pit Stop, that guy, and just said, great summer tips. Dean knows the market, and Catalyst customer and believer in Pittsburgh Power and Emo Nation. And thanks, Sean. That's a great time to remember everyone now. We do have full shows on YouTube immediately after we go off air. So search Radio Nemo, hit subscribe, of course, and then click the live tab, and you'll be able to see all of our live streams, the full 4 hours. I've also added timestamps in the description box so you can jump ahead to your favorite segments. And then the next day, all of those segments, all the guests, all the interviews will go up on the YouTube channel by themselves. So if you ever want to listen to a specific thing, you'll be able to do it there. But my bestie Showtime, always active, always helpful. And he commented, everyone, if you're listening on YouTube, make sure to click the thumbs up button. It helps the algorithm. And that's a great reminder if you're watching the live on YouTube or Facebook, and it's safe to do so, of course. Hit the thumbs up button. It really helps us out.
I just thumbs it up. Right before you said that, I did it.
I saw it happen.
Thank
I saw it
I
happen.
thumbsed up my own thumb. What? What is happening?
I don't know. Sometimes that works.
It works when you work it.
It works when you work it. But we have some other stuff coming in from Facebook now. And we have a comment from Rebecca Brewster. And we actually already mentioned this one, but it was in my notes. Jimmy says, that Rebecca Brewster says, love hearing Dre on air. And same, Dre. The intros, the rejoiners, it's like a fun, unpredictable spark to the show. I love it so much. I love just hearing what you have to say at the top of each hour. I love it so much.
It is. It's a really groovy thing, and I have to tell you, Tara, as I said at the top of the show, I know Lindsay and you were listening. I got a chance to get over there and talk to Dre Lindsay about once every month or so. I'd go over there just kind of say hi and check out what he was doing. But to have him here across the table from me, be able to look him in the eye and make the miracle happen. He's up right now, by the way, getting another wire as we keep on working on the studio.
Did you throw a phone at him because he got out of his seat? He has to stay seated.
No. He actually, I know what he's up to, by the way. He's actually grabbing some stuff and making sure the miracle can happen. It's been a process this entire week over here. It's been a process to kind of get everything.
Trial and error.
Trial and error. And
it's been a long year this week.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And by the way, guys, the phone lines are open at 615-292-6366 if you want to jump into the comp.
615-292 Nemo. We got to keep the number.
So that's a groovy thing coming your way. But Tara, go on, please. Go on.
Go on. Okay, so Junker, I just want to do a special shout out real quick to Junker. Thanks for always dropping in, saying good morning. Junker's usually not here through everything. He is driving. He's out making the miracle happen, of course, as Jimmy loves to say. But he always drops in, says good morning, says good night to me, and just tells us where he's headed to next. So we look forward to it each day, Junker, if you're listening.
Tara, I got to stop you real quick because you said he says good night to you. I know you're like the queen, the guru of social media. Have you guys seen the trend going around on social media, on Instagram in particular, where you call and tell people good night?
I feel like Jimmy would be like the perfect person to do this trend.
Totally.
Like, for all different people in the industry. Oh my gosh, Lindsay, that's amazing.
So Jim, what it is they have the one I saw where I was laughing, dying laughing. My husband came in and was like, "What are you laughing at?" It's so simple, but for some reason it's brilliant. A guy, like, I mean, it's your age, you call one of your good friends you haven't talked to, and he picks up the phone, you call him at 9:00 at night, whatever. He picks up and you're like, "Hey, I just calling to tell you good night." And just see what they say. And it's so the responses are so great. It sounds so basic, but you've got to watch the trend online. It's really funny. You're right. I want to see Jimmy Mack just call like Tom Bray, just be like, just calling to say goodnight.
Dean Croak.
I can actually do what both of them would sound like. I can actually predict what they would sound like. By the way, Tom Bray. Oh, okay, all right, that's fine. Well, good night, Jimmy. And Dean Croak would be like, well, good night. All right.
I'd be like, go screw yourself. Click.
He actually, to be all fair, Dean Croak would be so hip and savvy with it. That dude is a social media animal. Yeah. He would totally get what was going down.
Dave Nemo would actually be very funny at this trend as well, because he get like Dave has such a sneaky sense of humor that if you don't know him, you might not get it, but if you know him, it's so great. He would be really funny at this trend as well. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on, Tara.
No, that's like beautiful, and we have to do it. Like the last one I saw was country music singer Thomas Rhett do it, and he was like calling like Jason Aldean and different people. It was hilarious. So like we have to get on this now. So be looking out for that. It's coming soon to our social media. But
well, I heard he called Jason Aldean, and Jason Aldean shot him through the phone. That's what I heard. I heard that. I'm sorry. Bang!
Jimmy,
What?
Jimmy, that's going to happen to you with certain people that you call. So we'll make sure it's in the video. Don't worry.
Oh, thank you very much.
Love it.
Bang! Jimmy's dead. Go on, please.
Next, we have a comment from Dave H., and he reported, "I listened on iHeartRadio, and it came through great in Northern Michigan. So we love hearing that. And shout out to UP. Shout out to the UP. But the next one comes in from Lamar Buckwalter. You guys know Lamar very well. And says, woohoo, now I can tune in while on duty at the firehouse. But Lamar, thank you for your service and also for supporting our show. We always see you in the comment section, and we love having you with us. So thank you. And then also, big shout out to Chowder. He's been in the chat room. He's been everywhere. And welcome to the new platform. We know you were a bit concerned about the change, as so many people were, but we're so glad you found your way here. And so many other people were concerned too, just not thinking they could listen. And we really couldn't say very much. We couldn't say certain words on old platforms and different things. So now that we're full force, we're out there, we're here, we are so happy that you are here as well.
We're out. We're loud and proud and out.
We're out.
Yep. We've officially come out of the one platform.
The shadow of the Death Star.
The shadow of the Death Star.
The shadow of the Death Star. By the way, just to kind of let you guys know that Tara is not kidding, this morning before I went on the air, I got this text message. Rolling in Sullivan, Missouri, Menards, 44,000 pounds of salt. Do I have to tell you who that's from?
Yes.
That's classic junker. Classic junker. I always get a check. Go ahead.
Yes. Every day I get a morning text and a good night text from Junker. And it's literally just, good morning, I'm headed here. Good night, just got done
like
doing
he texts
this.
your phone, or you mean a message on social?
Like message on Facebook.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Like literally every single day. And it's just like checking in. And like sometimes I'm so busy I can't respond. So I just like do the little heart, like just like here, let you know, like I saw that. And it's so sweet. He's just checking in, right?
He's everybody's grandpa.
Literally.
I by the way had a phone call with Showtime yesterday where it was like, I'm like, what are you doing? No, what he called me, we were talking about McNasty McNeese. I'm just going to tell people to look that up. Look up McNasty McNeese.
I will not.
Look it up. Look it up.
Not.
You'll be very grateful you did. You'll be very. I'm sorry, Tara. This is called Tara the Turtles Breaker Back Talk. Go on, Back Talk.
Well, I have one more comment, and it's from DM Henderson, and it says, great to hear you guys on such great platforms that make the program available to so many of us. Hashtag RGR.
We got a phone call. We got a phone call coming in, Lindsay. We don't know who it is because Dre's now in control of that reality until I can get more of the technical things fixed. Who I got?
Oh, no, I'm never letting you have control of this. I like just being able to say who it is. Weasel in Nebraska.
Weasel.
The Weasel.
Oh, that's too good.
What's up, brother?
So gross.
Hey, good morning, folks.
Morning, Weasel.
Morning.
Weasel.
And I did find you. I'm working on how to get my headset to connect to my phone so I can, when I'm driving down the road, I can't hear my phone. So I'm trying to figure out how to get to where my phone hooks up to my headset for more than calls.
Nice.
But
nice.
I have been trying to listen as much as I can.
Where are you? What platform are you listening on?
Through my phone, RadioNemo.com.
On the website,
nice.
just on RadioNemo.com.
Nice.
Cool.
Nicely
Nice.
done.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Hey, by the way, thank you for the lovely message you sent yesterday. Lindsay, I'm going to let you know Weasel said, he said, it just kills me inside that I don't have anything to listen to on the weekend. And then he stopped, wrote an ellipses, and wrote, anything good to listen to on the weekend. Yeah. Yeah, well said, Weasel.
But you do, because you can listen to everything. Everything is posted after, so where maybe we're not live on the weekend, but if you missed anything, that's the good news. You can listen back, and that is the most beautiful thing about this platform. If you missed it before on that last place where we used to be, it was very hard to navigate how to go back and hear repeats. But now that's another thing Tara and our team and Madison and everyone's doing, and Nick, they're getting everything as soon as we go off the air. They turn it, they burn it, and it goes up online, and you can see it both on YouTube and the repeats and it'll soon be on I think it's 1,074,000,074 different platforms will be on. Isn't that the official number? I think
75.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sweet.
75. Yep.
Yeah.
If we get one more, we can get a trombone. Go ahead, Weasel.
I do know that, but live programming on a weekend is so much better, interactive, and
we agree. Here's the Weasel. Listen to this though. Give us a minute to get up and running, and
you guys need days off.
Yeah.
Well, but give us a minute to get up and running. We've got enough people. We've got so many more this platform. We've got so many more exciting ideas and concepts for new shows, new podcasts, everything down the road. I venture to guess there will be live programming soon on the weekend. We just need a minute to get our ducks in the row. But Jim, that sounds like a fair assessment, right?
That's a pretty fair assessment, by the way. And I got a note from Showtime telling me my vocals are hot, almost overdriven. So I'm going to back off of the microphone. That's on me, I think, Dre, not on you. I think that's I gotta own that one. Am I blowing your ears out, my good friend Weasel?
No, right? No. You were a little bit in the background. Right now, you're about perfect.
You see, modulation is always the key. Weasel, I do miss for you, but we're working on it, as Lindsay says. For those of you who don't know, Weasel would call us during the show during his long Sunday drive. He would drive out 2 hours and then drive back 2 hours, which, by the way, you can still do. So it's pretty awesome, Weasel. Weasel, we're going to get you in on the show earlier at some point so we can really dig in and have a conversation with you. It's good to hear your voice, brother. Welcome back.
And a newborn giraffe is really ugly when it first stands up, but give it a little while to get its legs underneath it, and it turns out to be something beautiful.
Did you just call us an ugly giraffe? I'll take it. Oddly enough, I'm going to take it.
Thanks.
I love that analogy. That's my favorite.
Thank you, Weasel.
But thank you. There's too many names to name. Thank you, everyone. I'll try to keep listening and call in again.
We love you, Weasel.
Thanks, Weasel.
Oh, you can stop doing that.
We got another phone call, by the way. We got another phone call. Who I got?
Oh man, we got Chris in Minnesota. He wants to say howdy.
Oh, Chris.
Hey, girl, hey.
Welcome back.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How's it hanging?
Hey, Chris. I like the energy you're bringing here on Friday the 13th, by the way.
I'm not superstitious in any way, shape, or form.
Me either, but I am sitting on crossed legs with crossed fingers and wearing the same thing that I wore last Friday the 13th because everything went okay that day. But other than that, I'm not either.
And I've got a rabbit foot shoved up my nose. I bet you didn't think I was going there.
Glad you said nose.
Yeah, I know.
I'm glad you said nose.
I thought about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, that would have been bad the other way around.
Heyo. Is that a rabbit foot in your pocket, or you just happy to see me? Hey.
How about a little bit of both, huh?
Sorry, Chris. What's going on?
Yeah, I love it. I had to say hi on the new platform. This is the first chance I've had. It was my new gig. You know, I've been running to kind of strange hours, so I wanted to get in here this week at least, and say howdy.
Howdy.
Well, thank you. Howdy.
How you doing, man?
Well, Minnie Pearl used to say that all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Howdy.
Yeah, she's been dying to do
Yep,
that.
there it is.
And she can now because she can move her face away from the microphone, by the way.
I have dynamics now. I have dynamics.
Yeah, she's a massive dynamic. That wasn't a fat joke, by the way.
Is that a fat joke?
It is a fat joke. I'm sorry.
Jimmy, you're a little light on audio right now.
How about I do this right now? How does that sound?
There you go.
Yeah, that's a little.
Yeah, you got it.
That's a little Robert Palmer right there. Feel the heat, a little power station happening there. Chris, okay. So what are you doing? Where are you going? And what are you digging?
Well, let's see. I'm running down up 35 here in Minnesota, headed up to by Duluth, then over to Superior, Wisconsin, then back over to Minnesota. Then I have no clue. I got foodstuffs.
By the way, I think you just described the entire experience at RadioNemo.com.
We're going here, we're going there, and then we have no clue.
We have no clue. By the way, Lindsay, Tara, Dre, I wanted to tell everybody, I want to tell Chris too, that our good friend Fred Flintstone checked in just now. He's been here the whole time. He is the first winner of the Biscuits and Gravy Challenge. If you're a member of the Resistance, you'll know what we're talking about. We are so excited. Lindsay, I texted you the winner of the Biscuits and Gravy, how he won it. I've texted you a 13-second video.
I'm kind of busy right now doing a radio show, but I'll check it out later.
Yeah. We can't play that on the air anyway.
Radio show? What kind of radio show? I don't know what you're talking about.
Who you calling a radio show? Chris, we love you. Thanks for calling while you're rolling down the road. We're going to wrap up this segment with our friend Tara. We can't do this without you, Chris, so thank you so much for coming along and coming on the ride with us. Welcome back.
Hey, my pleasure. Everybody have fun. Be safe. Catch you later.
Catch you later, dude. Hey, Tara. Tara's not tidbits, breaker. Tara's back talk. Do you have anything to end with us? Any last comment that tells us how great we are? Make it up if not.
Yes.
Kidding.
So,
Tell me how great I am.
tell me how great I am.
Lie to me.
This next comment comes in from Jack W. and it says, "Jimmy, I love the smell of your farts."
Ew.
Nice.
Go on.
Oh, God.
Oh, Lord.
Go on
Anyways,
quickly.
guys, if you would like to show your support to the Resistance, please share our YouTube channel with your friends. Tell them to subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm working on a giveaway right now for when we hit 1,000 subscribers for one of our subscribers to win a prize when we hit our goal. So do not miss out on the opportunity. Go subscribe. Tell your friends. We're only 175 away from 1,000. That's it.
That's it.
174.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
You unliking it and liking again doesn't count. You do know that, Jimmy.
I do know that. Believe
Okay,
me, I
just
tried. Showtime and I really tried for about 3 days. We're like, not working.
Giggity. We should do if we get to when we get to 1,000, maybe the giveaway is entrance into our big July 23rd extravaganza in New Orleans, perhaps.
We'll introduce them from the stage because everybody can come.
Yeah, a duet. I'll do a duet with you.
Islands in the stream.
I love that.
That is what we are.
I like big butts. Then was that a fat joke? Whatever they want to sing, we will duet together. Tara, what are you doing this weekend?
Hopefully moving into my camper on my property if the electrical stuff will be permitted. But if not, probably just chilling.
All right. Well, let's go. Well, don't get electrocuted. We need you. I think we've proven that, how much we need you. We love you. And I love this segment. Looking forward. This will be a recurring segment every Friday here on Road Gang Radio.
Tara Von Turtle is in the house. Tara Von Turtle is leaving the house. And so are we for a brief moment for the people who take care of us to take care of themselves. #RGR. Lindsay, ask for music.
Dre, please do your job as you do so well. Give us some music and get us out of here so we can come back with country and Western music news on Road Gang Radio.
Woo! Thank you, T.
Howdy!
Go to truckdown.com, go to shadyways.com, go to fastboard.com.
We
Wait a minute. Are you running all of your rig's accessories?
All of them. You like that?
No, why would I? Your engine's turned off.
That means I ain't violating no idling laws. You like that?
No, why would I? That means you're running off your battery.
I'm running on an Odyssey battery.
Got the country
You
and
like
Western
that?
music news
No,
open.
why?
Ready?
Wait, did you say an Odyssey battery?
Odyssey battery. Rugged, maintenance-free, thin plate pure lead technology, and massive deep
Dre, feel free to bring us back with
Plenty of
whatever you
reserve
want to
power
say and then
run
hit the intro if
onboard
you want.
accessories. Engine on or off. Twice the power, 3 times the life of conventional batteries. That's an Odyssey battery. You like that?
No, I don't like that. I love that. Wait a minute. The crickets stopped.
Odyssey hasn't.
Get yourself an Odyssey battery. Performance you can count on.
Pittsburgh Power's max mileage fuel catalyst is proven to reduce soot by over 60%. Now, soot is enemy number one to your emission system, and soot hurts your bottom line, too. Pittsburgh Power's max mileage fuel catalyst will significantly reduce emissions-related downtime expenses and check engine lights. No other product can come close when it comes to reducing soot and trouble in your emissions components. Spend more time on the road. Pittsburgh Power, making drivers smile since 1977. Visit pittsburghpower.com for more info.
Well, hey, y'all. Welcome to the Ho-Ho.
Excuse you?
Did you call me?
Huh?
Welcome to the Ho-Down.
Ah.
Because it's time for country and western news with your Music City mistress,
Yeah.
the honky-tonk queen herself,
That's me.
Lindsay Lawler.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about. Lindsay Lawler in the house. We have been waiting for this moment all of our lives.
Well, thank you very much. Welcome back to your country and western music news because, boys, on this show we celebrate both kinds.
Oh, both kinds is being celebrated now.
On this show we celebrate all kinds.
All kinds is being talked about on this show.
Okay, let's go. So, Jim, this is kooky crazy. So Elon Musk, he might be on the outs with the Trumper, but he's trying to make his way into Music City. Have you heard about this?
I
Do you
have
know what
not.
I'm about to say?
Musk is on the move. I do not know. Hit me with the big news.
Okay, I'm going to need your take on this. So, Elon Musk, he founded the Boring Co. back in 2017 as an infrastructure company, which is centered around tunnel construction. It's a self-described mission to quote, here it is, solve traffic, enable rapid point-to-point transportation, and transform cities. Elon Musk, that's what he wants to do. That is according to the company's website, The Boring Co. So, Jim, the company has constructed a tunnel network beneath Las Vegas, as well as they built a system.
I knew that.
You knew that one, yeah. As well as they built a system beneath Tesla's Giga Texas facility in Austin, which is just 30 miles west of the Boring Co.'s Central Texas headquarters in Bass Strip. So, now, according to the Nashville Business Journal, Jim, the world's richest man. Is he really the world's richest man?
He's insanely rich. He could lose like $1 billion a day for like over a year and still have $1 billion.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, the world's richest man, he's reportedly in talks with Tennessee state officials about constructing a tunnel system within Nashville. Now, before I go any further, why, Jim? Why would you say Elon Musk would be interested in a tunnel system in Nashville?
Because he wants to crater the entire city and turn it into an Arctic region covered with ice.
Okay.
No, no.
Wait, are you doing a Mark Rainey novel right
I
now?
am actually. I was thinking about Mark Rainey. You got me. You got me. Lindsay Lawler got
That
me.
wasn't a question that I had the answer to, or I'm about to tell you. I really was curious because government officials, they're looking into a possible underground tunnel that would link downtown with the Nashville International Airport as a way to improve transit conditions in the city and accommodate the massive growing tourism numbers. Now, I say this, Jim, because if you spent here time, Jim, and we're on the verge to traffically, is traffically a word? If not, it is now. To traffically becoming Atlanta because, downtown, it's too late to course correct, but our downtown is a 24, 40, and 65 all converge. It's just a nightmare.
It's a fluster cluck.
It is 100%. It is. I don't know if and I'll go back to what we're talking about, but I don't know, Jim, is a tunnel system the right direction, or should we be looking to the skies? A tunnel to me feels past and the skies feel futuristic, but I'm curious your take on the hashtag balance of meeting in the middle there.
Well, there's I mean, literally, we can actually probably get somebody on the show at some point.
Yes,
I'd love
let's
to
do.
get somebody on the show to kind of talk about the infrastructure issues that are beginning to build in Nashville.
Yep.
Something's got to happen, Lindsay, because, I make the joke, how much I used to travel. We're going to be getting back to that later on in the year. I'm telling you right now, every time I arrive at the Nashville airport, I feel like there's a ribbon cutting and that somebody else is opening up something new over there. There's a hotel that was added in regards.
There's a bar, a Country Star opens like a bar a week here.
I mean, it is, and it's happening at the airport. I mean, you
Yes.
literally arrive at the airport and it's happening. And there is literally one exit to get to the airport. They're going to have a disaster that's going to eventually come up. And, Denver Jeffco got very, very lucky. Lindsay, it's going to be a problem. I think going underground is actually a really ingenious solution.
Okay.
Like I said, it's a lot of work, though, man. He's got to make sure, what Showtime and I talked about, you got to make sure everything has been cleared and all the regulations are taken care of. What we got? What's going on? What's going on?
So while specifics as to the tunnel's route or cost are unknown, the potential project, Jim, it could mirror that of Las Vegas's the dual tunnel system they have beneath the Las Vegas Convention Center. That one encompasses 0.8 of a mile, a 0.8 mile loop that includes a single lane and 12-foot wide tunnel. So the Las Vegas endeavor itself, it costed an estimated $50 million price tag. It's not the first tunnel concept to be pitched and discussed by Nashville leaders, by the way. So our former Mayor Megan Barry, she floated a concept for a 1.8 mile tunnel beneath downtown Nashville back in 2017. And that project, Jim, had a $900 million price tag attached to it. It would have accommodated a 60-foot wide tunnel. That referendum ultimately failed at the polls shortly after she resigned from her mayoral role after having some, let's say, well, she was. I'm not even going to go there.
Say it.
Never mind.
No, say it. What happened?
She had some extracurricular activities and relationships, shall we say?
Well,
okay.
let's just make a point. By the way, equal opportunity society. You get caught
I like it.
with your
No
hand
judgment.
hand in the cookie jar, with your hand on the sweets. Things happen. Things.
This
go
is a
south.
judgment-free, judgy show.
No problem.
Okay, so this to me is pretty huge. It's a sign of the times. This is a new story. We're moving on to number 2. We will keep you in the loop of that because that's going to be very interesting. So, Jim, this is a big deal to me and what we talk about in country music and genres in a good way. So country music is getting a new Grammy category. Here's why it's a big deal. Here's why Dave Nemo is going to love this if he's listening. It's getting a new category, which is Best Traditional Country Album. And not old, not like they're going back. Best traditional country album that's new, that has just come out. It's the only new music category being added for the 68th annual Grammy Awards next year. And to reflect the change, the existing Best Country Album category has been renamed to Best Contemporary Country Album. This is big, Jim. The new category joins the 13 other categories in Field 5, which is in country, 4 of which are specifically dedicated to country, while the others cover American roots, Americana, bluegrass, blues, folk, and regional music. So, Jim, let's dive into this because new categories are considered from proposals submitted to the Recording Academy's Awards and Nominations Committee. Those are then voted on by the Academy's Board of Trustees, blah, 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 blah. What does that mean to us? So the community, what happened here, Jim, is the community of people that are making country music here in Nashville and the world, and all the different subgenres, they came to the Recording Academy with a plea, I'll say, a proposal, and they said they would like to have more variety in how or I'll say our music is honored. Jim, I know you couldn't agree more. This kind of thing, this is the kind of thing that helps my genreless mission by actually, oddly enough, getting more specific within the genres, if that makes sense. Break it down, Jim.
No, it makes a lot of sense, by the way. And it's one of those things where people have to understand that there is a big tent that actually incorporates country music. And there's a lot of stuff that exists kind of in what we call liminal space, the world that our friends out there on the road kind of exist in, this place of not this, not that, what's this, what's that. But there's a lot of other stuff too, Lindsay, that exists very firmly in Americana, exists very firmly in bluegrass, exists very firmly in specific sort of categories and genres. And by figuring out when something really is the thing itself and giving them their own separate categories and then creating something larger and bigger at the same time, what you're doing is you're giving more people opportunities for recognition. Because at the end of the day, what an award ceremony is, Rick Rain was on the show talking about the networking and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a big, giant promotional piece. The Academy Awards promotes movies. The Emmys promote TV, of course. The Grammys promote music across the board. With country music in particular, what we're doing is we're actually celebrating and giving more people a chance to kind of be seen and to kind of be recognized. That's becoming a big thing as we move into this century. The idea of this singular sort of, one person is great and everybody else just missed and everybody else doesn't exist. This gives a lot of people a chance to be great, if I'm making any sense. A lot of people that opportunity, if you can dig where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no, totally. It gives it what it does is it makes country parallel with what's happening in other genres too, Jim, because it creates space for where country is going, or rather where it's been. And you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I know absolutely what you mean. By the way, I'm going to have him turn his microphone on. You asked if Dave Nemo was listening, correct? You asked if Dave Nemo was listening. So what do you say I get him to say good morning and to everybody out there?
I would love that. Good morning, Dave.
Nemo in the house.
I think it's more appropriate at this point, given the previous conversation, to say good night.
Just called to say good night.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Isn't that a funny, great trend? You just call like one of your very serious friends, you guys have never shared emotions or anything, and you just call good night, like you're calling to tuck him in.
Yeah. I want to ask you something about the addition of the traditional country music category, which I really do applaud.
Yeah.
Did something predicate that? In other words, can we point to something that happened? And the reason I ask is that here in New Orleans, Dixieland jazz, traditional Dixieland jazz, was all but forgotten before Hurricane Katrina. And when it was modern jazz or cover bands, stuff like that, a lot of Zydeco and things like that. But the traditional Dixieland jazz that built New Orleans, even before Louis Armstrong. But after Katrina, there was a real, and Jim knows more about this than I do because I was in Nashville throughout the Katrina disaster. But here in town, the people of New Orleans wanted to bring back the heritage of the city. There were fleur-de-lis everywhere. And the idea of getting back to New Orleans' roots and heritage musically really took off. So you got a bunch of young white kids playing Dixieland jazz that predates the time when even drums were in the groups. They would use the banjo as the rhythm instrument. And they were bringing that late 19th century, early 20th century music back. So there is something that caused that. And I was wondering what the causality of this was.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so. I mentioned earlier the idea that some of these people making in these subgenres went straight to the Recording Academy. But Dave, what I think it is that the hope is probably that the new category benefits artists who fall outside of the mainstream, the commercial country music, and those are your like Charlie Crockett, Colter Wall, Sierra Farrell, dare I say Tyler Childress, who I love so much. And those people who have huge followings, they'll go down in country music history, but there's not a place for them to be awarded in the Grammys or in these bigger categories. And so they've previously been nominated into like Americana and the American Roots. But this allows those kinds of artists to be included in the quote unquote mainstream categories, which is I feel is important and a big move. So my guess is, Dave, that enough of those kind of artists made us think that they're like, we've got millions of followers. We are shifting what country music is, and yet you're not honoring us on the main stage.
Maybe we'll get back to Three Chords and the Truth.
Yeah. Maybe that's my hope. I mean, we're starting to, people are seeing that the Western swing and the banjo and the fiddle and the steel guitar, those are voices unlike anything else, and now they're being honored, Jim.
Yeah, and what's interesting, too, because Dave brought up that great question, there are two reasons why these kind of awards happen, why these kind of changes happen. One of which is you have an underrepresented group of people. The other one is exactly what you guys are talking about, where they're not underrepresented, they're just not getting a space at the table where they're actually making a big and important contribution that's happening right now, and you don't want to lose those fans. You don't want to lose those people. You don't want to lose the ratings, but you don't want to lose that audience. And if you don't get those folks up there, it's comparing apples to oranges. It's kind of like the foreign. It's like the foreign cinema nomination for the Academy Awards. It's like, wait a minute. So wait, the Academy Awards have 5 movies that get judged from like around the world, and that's it. And that's how we're going to do it?
100%, Jim. When you say apples to oranges, that's it, because traditionally a lot of people, they weren't sure whether an album was Americana or roots or folk or country, so they just jammed it into one category. And now this won't happen anymore. So
Well, there's a lot of Me Too-ism going on here, too, though. Radio is a Me Too industry. We do it on Monday, and everybody else does it on Tuesday.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God, Dave. Where I thought you were going, I'm like going, don't open this can of worms.
Too soon.
I'm afraid I'm a couple of generations behind what Me Too
I
is
totally
today.
got where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Absolutely got it.
But okay, so Charlie Douglas starts a phenomenon called trucking radio in 1971.
Dave, I want you to tell the story, but I want you to tell it with D. Lawler on the air.
Oh, hey,
we got
D.
Lindsay's dad here.
Hi, Dad.
Hello, Lindsay. How are you this morning?
Hi, Daddy. Well, I'm glad Dad's getting in here. Dad, say hello. Jimmy, Mac, Dre, and Dave are all here with you. It's just us boys here.
Hey, Dave. Hello, Dave. How are you?
Fantastic.
Well, I was listening you talk about digging the tunnel out here in Nashville, and if they'd do it down here to Franklin, I'd go out and get my shovel and help.
They might call on you, Dad. Well, I'd be remiss if my dad didn't call in. Of course, Father's Day weekend. So happy Father's Day, Daddy. You are the best of the best.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And secondly, it only makes sense that you call in during country and western music news because, guys, my dad, I'm going to post a picture side by side. My dad is a spitting image, especially in certain pictures, of George Strait. So he likes to put on his cowboy hat and walk around Nashville and pretend and sign people's guitars whether they ask for it or not. So
yeah, well, I think they've got a restraining order on me now on that.
Yeah, I do too. So it makes sense. It makes sense. All right, so Dad, welcome to the show. Welcome to Country and Western Music News. Dave, you were saying?
Continue. Me Tooism, Dave.
Oh, the Me Tooism. So Charlie Douglas starts a phenomenon called trucking radio at night, and the other big 50,000-watt stations almost immediately followed suit. And I think Nashville is a real Me Too town in terms of music. And as mostly a country music DJ going from the...
Can we say and also instead of
also,
Me Too?
Okay,
okay, thank you.
And also. But at any rate, so Nashville kind of ran out of steam. The traditional country music, 3 chords and the truth thing, kind of ran out of steam, and they really started copycatting. And I think when Floyd Kramer started that what was it called? Nashvillepolitan or something? There was a name for that piano style, and country music started going the pop route. Because they rejected all of the rock and roll guys like Conway Twitty. Elvis Presley started off pretty much as country, but they got rejected pretty much on the Grand Ole Opry and stuff like that for a while. What I'm getting at is that rock and roll country music thing kind of split off, and country music became a countrypolitan is what it was called. And you listen back.
Oh, I just got it. Lindsay. I just got it.
You're so smart, but every once in a while.
The 5-piece band went to an orchestra for a while.
Because you said piano, and I started saying, what's the connection between politan and piano? I'm like, oh, as in cosmopolitan, countrypolitan.
Bless your heart.
Thank you very much. I'll be here all week.
Bless
Oh, wait, the week's over with, by the way.
We all have our different paths.
But by the way, I'm just curious, though, at what point did we become aware of your father's resemblance to a certain piece of country royalty? When did people become aware of this? When were you guys
we've seen it for a long time, Dad, right? Because back in the day, I mean, especially in your younger years, you were a spitting image and getting even more so. But Dad, you like to walk around and pretend you're Well, my dad also, Dad, tell him, you like to go to the so Carrie Underwood goes to our church now that my parents have moved here. He sees Reba at the grocery store. My dad literally just leaves the house with a shopping cart hoping to literally bump into these people. Am I right, Dad?
Yes, you are correct. Again, a restraining order, I think, is something. I'll tell you a quick story that's funny
Please.
about Dad. You know, my dad, your grandfather, of course, died about 20 years ago, but he was in the banking business in Oklahoma City, and I was listening to Dave talk about Conway Twitty, and my dad loaned Conway Twitty money to buy an Excalibur car back 100 years ago. And Conway Twitty couldn't pay his bills, and so my dad ended up driving this old car around, or new car at the time. So there you go. He was.
I haven't heard that before, Dad. I've heard your Tanya Tucker story.
Oh yeah, I did that.
Tell that real quick.
Hey, D, by the way, can we ambush you with a phone call and then force you to tell all these amazing stories that you weren't prepared to tell? We're happy to accommodate you. Please
Happy
go on.
Father's Day. Dance, monkey, dance.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you one quick story. We went to some friend's house this weekend to eat, and he told me his daughter bought him a new car for Father's Day.
Okay, well, Dad,
Nicely
I'm losing
done.
you.
Nicely
I'm losing you.
Wait,
I'm
what's
through
going
a
on here?
tunnel.
What's happening here?
I'm
What's
going through a tunnel. I got you a
Oh.
baseball cap I'll be delivering to you on Sunday. I don't know if that's as nice. or
I got
not.
my dad a cheese board.
That's precious.
Well, Dad, I love you. Thanks
Uh,
for the call. This is my attorney, my country music attorney father, who's also been helping us out here around Radio Nemo. Dad, thank you for the call. Happy Father's Day. I am. What's your? I'll end on this. What is the best thing about moving to Franklin, living here near Music City, outside of the obvious? What is the thing that's been the most fun to you?
Well, I think it's definitely, other than being with you and Seamus,
Right, of course.
and Freya,
Nicely done.
is just we live in a great area down here, and just being really is something to see all the singers and just everybody like normal people and relaxing. And I would tell you that they're talking about putting a new airport in down here, so the tunnel may not be necessary. So Franklin may become the hub instead of Nashville at some point. So.
I tell you this, man, they might put that tunnel between both airports, by the way. That's what they'll probably do. That's what I bet you he knows it's coming, and I bet you
Of course he does.
Sneaky little Musk. He's a smart little guy, isn't he? Little
Sneaky
PayPal.
Musk.
Little PayPal.
I love you, Daddy. Happy Father's Day. Thank you for
You too.
calling.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
tell,
Mr. D.
Tell Seamus Happy Father's Day, and Jimmy, your dad. Hope he's doing okay.
He's listening. He's listening.
Okay.
We said, I'm going to call him, too. And my dad's like, don't you dare make that phone call. I'll kill you.
My dad was like, put me.
Thank you, D. Happy Father's Day.
Well, I love your show. I think your change has been great, and I think you're doing a good job. So, look forward to it.
Tell your friends. Please keep listening.
We're gonna go to Chowder here real quick because he came on the show early and kind of regaled me with his tales of the road. Lindsay, he's been dying to do this. Go ahead, Chowder. Tell her hi.
Hey, guys. Hey, happy Father's Day, Dave, Jimmy, and all you other fathers out there. But really, the Chowder is squawking in because his squawk box is ringing, and it says, Lindsay Lawler, it's great to finally catch up to you and nail you down on a Friday near the end of the show, but I'm so proud of you, happy for you, glad to have you gone over here, made me come listen and follow you. You're a great person, and I enjoy everything I always hear from you, including on CDs.
Oh, wow. That means a lot. Thank you, Chad. Hearing these voices and over here on this side feels like we've done it. Feels like we've really done it. We've made it.
That's right.
Our people found us, and we're good to go now. The ones that came along are the ones we want.
That's right. And you can call me a chowder head anytime you want. That's fine because breaking news. Chowder will be in trouble with the wife, but it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. So we went to Yellowstone, as you've probably seen. Chowder just accepted a load going to Maine because nobody else likes to go to the Northeast, apparently, at this company. So Chowder's going to do a flip-flop in Fargo and head for Fryeburg, Maine again. I won't be quite east of America area, but I will be on the other side on the Vermont border. More salmon fishing and hiking for the Chowder. see what kind of photos I can share for you guys.
Chowder, wait 1 second. I want you to say Chowder is going to go to the Northeast. News at 11. Go ahead and say that right now. Go.
I can't hear what you all said because of the sound, but I know Chowder's going to the Northeast to get him some clam chowder, lobster, and cod.
Breaking news from the
Breaking at
Chowder.
11 news.
Wanted to get that news sound in there, Lindsay, for the Chowder. Chowder, we love you, brother. Thanks for being a part of Road Gang Radio and the Resistance, my friend. It's good to have you along for the ride. Be safe out there, okay, buddy? And he's done.
Love you, brother. Love you, brother. Love that. All right, Dave and Jim, I've got one final story here in our country and Western music news because here we celebrate both kinds of
Both
music.
kinds.
All kinds.
All kinds.
All right, Jimmy and Dave, if anyone listening is coming to Nashville to try and see Jelly Roll perform anytime soon, you're coming to the wrong place. Jelly told the audience at Bridgestone Arena during Music City Rodeo that he will not be performing in Nashville anytime until 2027. He said, actually, he stopped his performance at the rodeo. He said, I need to make it a point to manifest something important to me. Somebody film this right now. He goes, I shouldn't say this. I'm going to get in trouble, but I got to say it out loud. He's 40 years old. He then began saying, this will be my last Nashville show until 2027. Hear me out. This is why I need your help. He says, I want to be the first act to play at the new Nissan Stadium when it opens in the spring of 2027. Now, I don't know, maybe this could be connected to the tunnel. We talked to Mike Florio about this a year or two ago. Do you remember, Jim, about the new stadium being built here in Nashville?
Baseball.
And the fact that it's well underway, our new stadium here. It's attached to a $2.2 billion price tag. It's a 2.1 million square foot venue. It says it will have an outdoor feel. I've yet to see that driving by, but we'll see. It doesn't, to me, show a lot of Nashville character, which I'm confused by, but it's nearly a 3-year construction period, which is well underway for completion in time to welcome as many as 60,000 fans for the first game in the 2027 football season. That, guys, though, it's no more than the current setup. In fact, it might even be a little less. But, Jim, remember we talked to Mike and to Florio, and I said, why are we still a contender for the Super Bowl if I think it's supposed to be like a 75,000...
About boxes. It's about boxes, Lindsay.
Okay.
It's about you can have as many seats as you want. I mean, you can have 70,000 seats. You can have 68,000 seats. It's how many boxes can they sell to those big corporations who want to have parties inside of glass walls while watching the game. That's the big thing.
Well, and also, obviously, our tourism situation. We have set ourselves up with the new convention center, with the new hotels, and perhaps with this new tunnel system that Elon's talking about. But we have enough going on, I think, that puts us in the category. I mean, our team sucks, but whatever. That puts us in the category of what's happening in the haps and the haps around here as well.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is that Nashville is fighting a great battle that actually was lost in Dallas. It was lost in Fort Worth. They still keep kind of winning in Atlanta because of how it's kind of put together. But the danger, of course, is turning into McStardunks, where everything is simply an exit ramp where there's a Starbucks, a McDonald's, and a Dunkin' Donuts over and over and over again.
Yeah.
What's really crucial, though, because Nashville's downtown is so impacted, they got a fighting chance. They got a fighting chance to maintain their identity. They want that, by the way. But the biggest reason that Nashville is such a great place, it's got 4 genuine seasons, and its winter isn't kick you in the teeth for 3 straight months awful, is that it's a place you can go and have fun any time of year. That's such a big difference. That makes such a difference. Because even Dallas gets so nasty cold.
It's too hot. That's why it gets nasty cold and it gets way too hot. That's why my parents moved here. You're making me fall back in love with where I live, so thank you for that. And Jelly Roll is so in love with it too. So just to wrap this up, he says, please let the local boy live a dream and open up the new stadium. Let me be the first to play it. I've been a effing, as he says, lifelong Titans fan. Let me play Nissan Stadium, y'all. His real name is Jason DeFord, by the way, but he was born here in Nashville. He spent his formative years here. He spent time in the Metro Davidson County Detention Facility.
Who hasn't?
I know, right? That old chestnut. Among the
That's
40
David I met.
times, the 40 times he was in jail throughout his life. But he says it's such a huge part of his life, and so he wants to be able to carry that legacy on, guys. And here you go, Dave. He owns a bar on Broadway in Nashville called Jelly Roll's Good Night Nashville. So maybe he should get in on our calling people to say good night venture as well.
What was it before it was Jelly Rolls? It had to be something before, because all of those places have been filled for decades.
They are. I'm not sure where his was before. I can find out hopefully real
Chad's
quickly.
Tower Lounge. By the way, our good friend Fred Flintstone has been talking forever and a day on the chat over there on YouTube, Lindsay, and he actually wrote Dave Nemo forever. Just want to get that word out there. By the way, Dave Nemo endures, Dave Nemo prevails, Dave Nemo survives. What else you got, Lindsay?
Finally, just to wrap us up, I'll find out the answer to that and get back to you, Dave. But on this day in 1991, the IRS held a public auction where people bought Dottie West's personal possessions in an attempt to pay back debts. Sounds like a Willie story, of over $1.5 million. The items had been seized by the IRS after they discovered the singer was hiding some valuable ones. But pretty cool. Some of her fans bought back the items, returned them to West. Items sold at the auction included Dottie West's baby grand piano, which sold for $4,900, and her 1976 Cadillac Fleetwood, despite the proceeds, though, from the auction. She was still left with some debt to owe them, but I love when the fans rally around. I love when the fans rally around a good country star's IRS debt. Right, Dave? That sounds like my dad in a Conway Twitty situation there earlier. That is all your country and Western music news here on Road Gang Radio. We celebrate both kinds. We celebrate all kinds. Really nice to have both my dad and Dave a part of it. Dave, happy Father's Day to you. Not only a father to your beautiful 2 daughters, but to all of us here. And thank you for being the legend that you are and letting us continue to ride this wave with you. We love and appreciate you so much, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
We have a, Dre, start the music. I just want to tell people really quickly, we have a big announcement at 10:45 Eastern Time on Dave's show. We'll be doing that, by the way, on Monday on Nemo Nation. Big things headed your way right before Pittsburgh Power. Hold in, tune in. Hey, Lindsay, let's get out of here, shall we?
5,
Let's go.
3, 2.
Where you guys want to go? Let's go have lunch.
Vietnamese is what I'm calling it. Out the east. Come on, Lindsay, get your butt down here.
Happy Father's Day to all of our drivers out there. Check back Monday morning with Nemo